Chapter 1309. There was a loud thud. Blood splattered all over the ground. On the other hand, Tianyang calmly reached out and grabbed the Blood Soul Great Sage's primordial spirit. You killed him just like that? At this moment, the Red Dragon Saint stared blankly at Heavenly Sunday. He didn't expect Heavenly Sun to be so straightforward. He killed as he pleased, leaving no room for the Blood Soul Supreme Sage. What's the point of keeping him if he's of no use? This guy is so ugly that it's like he's mentally polluted. Tianyang said calmly. The primordial spirit of the Blood Soul Supreme Sage, who was forcefully pulled out from his hand, finally understood. You dare to kill me? The Blood Soul Supreme Sage's face was filled with disbelief. He was a Supreme Sage. Tianyang dared to kill him? Furthermore, he killed them so cleanly? Tianyang, on the other hand, smiled faintly and pointed his finger. Instantly, the Blood Soul Supreme Sage's body trembled, as if he had been electrocuted. The next moment, there was a cracking sound as if something had shattered. The seal on the Blood Soul Supreme Sage's space bag, that he had given to the little golden girl to find a way to break, did not take long for the little golden girl to perfectly break it. In reality, this method was not very clever. It was merely a restrictive array formation set up in the primordial spirits of the Blood Soul Supreme Sage, the Blood Soul Supreme Sage, and the other Xianyuan family members. As long as there was brute force that wanted to devour the primordial spirits and obtain the information within, the restrictive array formation would automatically activate and cause the primordial spirits to self-destruct. If Tianyang was given time, with Tianyang's attainments in array formation, he could have easily broken it. However, as the Blood Soul Supreme Sage's primordial spirit was shattered and the fragments of his primordial spirit were disappearing rapidly, Tianyang had no chance. As for now, why is my primordial spirit restrictive array gone? The Blood Soul Supreme Sage's face was filled with disbelief. This was a restrictive array that was branded on the souls and primordial spirits of the Xianyuan family members. Even if a formation sage were to take action, it would take at least half a year to a few years to break it. Not to mention a few years, even if it took a minute, the primordial spirit would have already exploded. Moreover, no one dared to kill a member of the Xianyuan family. Therefore, no one had been able to break the seal for many years. Who would have thought that Tianyang would be able to break the restrictions of the Xianyuan family so quickly? Damn it! The Blood Soul Great Sage reacted instantly and let out a low roar. The power of his primordial spirit surged continuously as he attempted to self-destruct. However, how could Tianyang give the Blood Soul Supreme Sage the chance to do so? He slashed out with his sword. The core of the Blood Soul Supreme Sage's primordial spirit exploded instantly. Just as the primordial spirit was about to shatter, the devouring heaven seal burst out and released a powerful devouring force that devoured the primordial spirit of the Blood Soul Supreme Sage. Torrents of information and the power of the Saint Stage primordial spirit surged into Tianyang's body and became nourishment for Tianyang's primordial spirit. Tianyang's body trembled, and he immediately sat down cross-legged. Could there be a problem? Seeing this, the Crimson Dragon Saint immediately tensed up. The strength that Tianyang had displayed was in no way inferior to the Crimson Dragon Saint. If something happened to Tianyang, the true Dragon Sacred World would have one less almighty. However, 10 minutes later, Tianyang regained consciousness. Before the Red Dragon Saint could say anything, the power of Tianyang's primordial spirit erupted. Middle-level Saint Stage. What the F***CK? The Red Dragon Saint was dumbfounded. When Tianyang broke through to the Origin Saint Stage in the Divine Paradise, he was extremely shocked. He did not expect Tianyang to break through to the middle-level Saint Stage in such a short period of time. The power of the Blood Soul Supreme Sage's primordial spirit is not bad. Tianyang praised. His primordial spirit was only a step away from the middle-level Saint Stage. Now that he had devoured the Blood Soul Supreme Sage's primordial spirit, he was able to break through to the middle-level Saint stage. Now that he had devoured the Blood Soul Supreme Sage's primordial spirit, not only did he break through, but he was also much stronger than the average middle-level Saint stage cultivator. On the other hand, Yun Xianyuan looked at the headless corpse that was suppressed by the Dragon Emperor's seal with a complicated expression on his face. In the past, he could only look up to this person. He could only be a puppet under their feet, a saintess who was like an animal. Now, this person's head was crushed by his own master. Speaking of which, where is Yuhan? Tianyang asked curiously. Why did Yun Xianyuan come out, but Ling Yuhan was nowhere to be seen? However, just as he spoke, Tianyang felt a chill run down his spine. Master Fu, I am here. Among the 4 of you, 2 of you have obtained the inheritance from the Divine Dragon Ancestral Temple? After the battle in the Red Dragon City, the original Red Dragon Pagoda was in ruins, and the Red Dragon City Governor's Mansion was almost destroyed by the traitor Heavenly Dragon Saint. Therefore, everyone could only sit on the ground. Qi Yingtian obtained the inheritance of the Burning Sky Dragon King. As for me, I obtained the inheritance of the 100 Battle Dragon Saint. Jin Zhan said with a hint of envy in his voice. Although the 100 Battle Dragon Saint was a powerful dragon saint who was close to the Dragon King realm in the history of the Dragon Tribe, he was still a little weaker than the Dragon King. Moreover, the inheritance of the Burning Sky Dragon King that Qi Yingtian obtained was one of the best among the inheritances released by the Divine Dragon Ancestral Temple. That's not bad. The Red Dragon Saint had a gratified expression on his face. Due to the fact that the younger generation of the true Dragon Sacred Domain was stuck at that time, the ones who went to the Dragon God Ancestral Temple were not the peak half-saints or high-level half-saints of the other dragon factions. Dragon Saint Red Dragon was worried that the people of the true Dragon Sacred Domain might not obtain a great opportunity. Unexpectedly, they obtained the inheritance of 2 divine dragon ancestral temples at once. Now there was hope for the future of the true Dragon Sacred Domain. While Dragon Saint Red Dragon was discussing with the people of the true Dragon Sacred Domain, Tianyang was on the other side with Ling Yuhan and Yun Xianyuan. That's why the Heavens Expanse Saint Spirit said that the mystical beauty in body would be of great use, so I kept her. Otherwise, I would have broken her neck long ago. Tianyang said helplessly. Ling Yuhan nodded when she heard that. That little fellow said so. It should be reliable. Ling Yuhan had interacted with the little golden girl in the Vientiane Sky ruins. However, the little golden girl was very cold. Even if she knew how important Ling Yuhan was to Tianyang, she could not be bothered with Ling Yuhan. I'm done talking. Can you get down from my head? Tianyang said. Ling Yuhan giggled when she heard that and jumped down from Tianyang's head. Tianyang touched his head and smiled. When Ling Yuhan threw a tantrum earlier, she lay on his head. Ling Yuhan's soft breasts were on top of Tianyang's head. The top of his head was still warm. On the other hand, Xianyuan Yun looked at the smile on Tianyang's face, and a trace of loneliness appeared on her face. How's your strength now? Tianyang asked. He suddenly realized that even he could not see through Ling Yuhan. Wu Zun is at the peak of the 9th heaven realm. He's about to break through to the half-saint realm, and he's cultivated 3 saint paths. At the mention of this, Ling Yuhan immediately said happily. Hearing that, Tianyang was slightly shocked. How long had it been? His cultivation is close to the half-saint realm? Even if Ling Yuhan was very talented, this speed was too fast. At this moment, Ling Yuhan seemed to have thought of something, and his expression changed slightly. Master, what are you going to do next? Tianyang's expression changed when he heard that. Killing intent burned in his eyes. Chapter 13:10. The Xianyuan Family. Spiritual Palace. Ever since the Supreme Saint of Thunder's spiritual lamp had been extinguished half a day ago, the Supreme Saint of Blood Slaughter and the Supreme Saint of Blood Soul's spiritual lamps had been dimming. 10 minutes ago, Great Sage Bloodsoak's spirit lamp had also gone out. 30 seconds ago, the Blood Soul Great Sage was also extinguished. Great Sage Bloodsoul, Great Sage Bloodslaughter, Great Sage Thunder Magic, Holy Sun Xianyuan Kong. The Xianyuan family had lost so many people to Tianyang. Furthermore, each and every one of them was either a genius or an expert. The patriarch of the Xianyuan family had a terrible look on his face. He stared at the spiritual lamps that had been extinguished forever in the spiritual hall. Grand Supreme Elder, Second Supreme Elder, First Supreme Elder, Holy Sun, Holy Maiden are missing, and there's also the insignificant Xianyuan Kong, Tianyang, that little bastard. He actually caused our Xianyuan family to suffer such heavy losses. A great sage, no matter which force he was in, he would be one of the strongest, the pillar of a force. For the Xianyuan family, it was the reason why the Xianyuan family could stand at the pinnacle of the continent and become the #1 family in the Xiantian world. However, because of one Tianyang, 3 of them had already died. Even the Xianyuan family only had 3 great sages in their ranks. Immortal bloodline worthy of its name. Holy Son Xianyuan couldn't kill him. Holy Daughter Xianyuan couldn't kill him. Great Elder and Thunder Great Saint couldn't kill him either. Even the 2 great elders, the Bloodsoul Great Sage and the Bloodslaughter Great Sage, couldn't kill him. The patriarch of the Xianyuan family said in a low voice. His eyelids drooped, making it impossible for others to see his expression. However, the murderous intent in his words was like a steel knife that ruthlessly stabbed into the soul ocean of everyone present. Lord Patriarch, why don't we just forget about it? It's just that Her Highness has been defiled. 3 great saints have already died. You're the only great saint left in the Xianyuan family. An elder could not help but ask. Hearing this, the head of the Xianyuan family, who was about to turn around and leave, stopped in his tracks and waved his hand. A flame immediately ignited on the arm of the person who spoke. In the blink of an eye, the elder's left arm was burned to ashes. However, he did not dare to scream and could only stand there silently. If Xianyuan Kong is the only one who died, then forget it. However, the Holy Sun is dead, the Grand Elder is dead, and the 2 Grand Elders are also dead. You want me to forget about it? Let the Xianyuan family forget about it? The head of the Xianyuan family said coldly, If Tianyang has the ability to kill me, then come at me. If you have the ability to topple my Xianyuan family, then come. The Xianyuan family was able to become the #1 family in the profound sky world. They have been around for countless years. How can a bastard from another trash world topple them? Disperse, the head of the Xianyuan family said. Then, he walked alone in the darkness. The other elders and deacons looked at each other and could only disperse in the end. In the center of the Xianyuan family, underground. Even the 2nd elder didn't know that there was another world beneath the patriarch's mansion in the center of the Xianyuan family. As for the Xianyuan family's family head, he went underground. There was a huge altar in front of him. Countless strange and complicated inscriptions were engraved on the altar. Streams of equally strange and powerful energy flowed within it. In the center of the altar, a woman in gorgeous clothes knelt on the altar. Her hands were hung by dark blue chains. Her eyes were tightly shut, but one could still see how beautiful she would be when she opened her eyes. Xianyuan God Goddess, Xianyuan Qingmeng. Your good son is really good, the head of the Xianyuan family said eerily. Hearing this, the body of the woman whose hands were bound on the altar moved slightly and opened her eyes. Streaks of mysterious runes flashed across the depths of his blue eye. This woman was the Xianyuan family's holy daughter, Tian Hao's wife, and Tianyang's mother. Killing Xianyuan Kong wasn't enough. You killed the Holy Sun and the 3 great saints. Xianyuan Qingmeng, this is you and that trash from the Tianshao Great World. The bastard son you gave birth to. The head of the Xianyuan family roared angrily. Immortal bloodline? It's hard to say if the immortal heavenly lord of the primordial age still existed. Tianhao, that trash, just happened to have a strong recovery physique. Yet you insisted on sleeping with that trash. You were only a trash of the metamorphosis realm back then. Do you know that your holy daughter bloodline hasn't appeared in the Xianyuan family for hundreds of thousands of years? Do you know that if you had maintained your virginity until now, the Xianyuan family would have been favored by the Xianyuan god and become the strongest force in the Xiantian great world? It's all because of your whims that you destroyed the hope of the Xianyuan family. You even gave birth to a bastard son and destroyed the foundation of the Xianyuan family. The head of the Xianyuan family roared. In the center of the altar, the face of the trapped woman did not change at all. Instead, she revealed a motherly smile. Is that so? That young is really powerful. How old is he? He can even kill a great saint. You! The head of the Xianyuan family trembled when he heard that. He forcefully resisted the urge to kill Xianyuan Qingmeng and took a few steps back. If I'm not wrong, that bastard will come to the Xianyuan family after killing the first Supreme Elder and second Supreme Elder. At that time, I'd like to see how stubborn you can be. I'll spare Tianhao's life for now. When Tianyang comes, I'll kill both the father and son so that you'll give up completely. The head of the Xianyuan family said coldly. Xianyuan Qingmeng smiled disdainfully when she heard that. Why? Because of you? How much stronger do you think you are compared to Xianyuan Guxiong and Xianyuan Guqing? Xianyuan Guxiong and Xianyuan Guqing were the Blood Soul Supreme Saint and the Blood Butcher Supreme Saint. The head of the Xianyuan family did not say anything. He merely mouthed two words and strode away. Xianyuan Qingming's face changed completely when she saw that. Master, you really don't need the Red Dragon Saint's help? Ling Yuhan asked doubtfully in the Vientiane sky ruins. This time, Tianyang did not ask the Red Dragon Saint for help when he attacked the Xianyuan family. There's no need. The Xianyuan family only has one Supreme Saint left. I can deal with him alone. Tianyang had gradually mastered the power of the origin of chaos during the battle with the Thunder Soul Supreme Saint and the Blood Butcher Supreme Saint. The strength of the head of the Xianyuan family was clearly recorded in the primordial spirit of the Blood Soul Supreme Saint. Tianyang was confident that he could defeat and kill the head of the Blood Soul Supreme Saint. The Central Divine Prefecture. The speed of the heavens expanse 9 transformations was extremely fast. Before long, Tianyang saw the outline of the Xiantian Great World's #1 prefecture. Then, he traversed the vast land and arrived at the center of the Central Divine Prefecture. The Xianyuan family. I've just arrived. Let's greet them first. Tianyang smiled and the great void sword embryo appeared in his hand in a flash. Then, he slashed out with his sword. Sword breaking 9 desolates. A mighty sword light pierced through the air and shot out explosively. Chapter 13:11. The Xianyuan family was different from the other forces. Their main force was in a separate small world. The Xianyuan family itself, including the branch and direct descendants, were all in the center of the divine central continent. Therefore, the center of the divine central continent should have been filled with spiritual qi. However, the Xianyuan family had plundered the spiritual qi of heaven and earth for thousands of miles, causing the area around the Xianyuan family to be barren. Only some of the cities under the Xianyuan family's protection could get some leftovers from the Xianyuan family. Boom! There was a thunderous sound. Instantly, energy ripples appeared outside the Xianyuan family. What's going on? Countless cultivators appeared in the cities around the Xianyuan family. They looked in disbelief at the terrifying sword light that seemed to have fallen from the sky and was about to tear the world apart. They were in disbelief. There was actually someone in this era who dared to provoke the Xianyuan family? Who dared to attack the Xianyuan family's space barrier? Boom! There was another loud sound. Under the shocked gazes of countless people, the Xianyuan family's huge space barrier was shattered. The terrifying sword light was like a spear that pierced straight into the Xianyuan family. It directly destroyed the branch family outside the Xianyuan family. Who knew how many people had died? Some cultivators were stunned. What was going on? Someone attacking the Xianyuan family was terrifying news that was enough to shock the entire Xiantian Great World. The attacker actually killed all the branch family members of the Xianyuan family? Who was this person who didn't want to live? At this moment, Tianyang stepped into the void. He looked at the mess outside the Xianyuan family and smiled faintly. Xianyuan Kongming, are you still not going to come out? Who are you? At this moment, an angry roar suddenly erupted from the Xianyuan family. Then, an elder soared into the sky. He unleashed his peak half-saint cultivation and charged toward Tianyang. How dare you destroy the Xianyuan family's space barrier and destroy the branch family members of the Xianyuan family? I, Xianyuan Long, hereby pronounce you a death sentence. The Xianyuan family elder snorted. Golden light gathered in his hand and turned into a long spear that was dozens of feet long. Then, the spear shot out explosively. The momentum seemed to be able to destroy everything. Seeing this, Tianyang's expression didn't change. He didn't even move. A majestic aura erupted from Tianyang's body. Boom! In an instant, the golden spear with terrifying might was shattered by the heavenly sun. As for the old man who used the golden spear, he was also struck by Tianyang's aura, causing him to spit out blood. To think that his life force had been cut off. Xianyuan Kongming, if you want to be a good-for-nothing, just say it. Why send your subordinates to their deaths? Tianyang chuckled and said in a clear voice. At this time, the surrounding people finally reacted. Who exactly was the Xianyuan Kongming that Tianyang mentioned? Shockingly, it was the current patriarch of the Xianyuan family. A great sage. He actually called the great sage by his name? They even attacked the Xianyuan family. Could it be that this young man is actually an old monster of the great saint realm who has regained his youth? An expert couldn't help but guess. However, even after Tianyang's provocation, there was still no response from the Xianyuan family. Seeing this, Tianyang shook his head gently and took a step forward. Boom! Although this step was in the void, a terrifying aura still blasted countless buildings below into dust. Among them, countless members of the Xianyuan family were also killed by this aura. How dare you! At this time, an expert from the Xianyuan family finally attacked in anger. A terrifying firestorm blasted out from the Xianyuan family. In the next moment, an old man who was emitting the power of a true Yuan saint roared and attacked. Angry Buddha's purification. Suddenly, a Buddha that was burning with flames appeared behind the true Yuan saint. In the next moment, the old man attacked. In the blink of an eye, he blasted out 81 palms. The flaming Buddha also blasted out 81 palms. Each of them was burning with terrifying flames. Together with the firestorm from before, the power of this attack instantly skyrocketed. Even a true great sage expert wouldn't be willing to receive this attack empty-handed. A saint? Close to a great sage? Seeing this, Tianyang raised an eyebrow. The Xianyuan family's foundation was indeed extraordinary. He recognized this person from the blood-soul great sage's memories. He was the second elder of the Xianyuan family. Just the second elder alone was more powerful than the strongest person in the Snow Sky Fox clan, Jiang Tianbing. There were also the two great sages that Tianyang had killed and the blood-soul great sage that the Red Dragon sage and Tianyang had joined forces to kill. Just the combination of three great sages and one who was close to a great sage was enough to dominate the entire Xiantian great world. Moreover, the Xianyuan family also had someone who was stronger than the blood-soul great sage and the blood-butcher great sage. Xianyuan Kongming. Die. The second elder of the Xianyuan family roared. The 81 flaming palms seemed to have merged into one and blasted toward Tianyang with terrifying power. It was as if the temperature of the surrounding air had risen by hundreds and thousands of degrees because of the flaming palms. Instantly, the area within a 1,000-mile radius turned into a scorching hell. Countless cultivators below the primordial transformation realm in the Xianyuan family's city were roasted alive by the terrifying temperature. Tianyang, on the other hand, smiled faintly and opened his mouth. A terrifying suction force was released from Tianyang's mouth. In the next moment, the sea of fire trembled slightly. Then, it turned into a stream of flames and was swallowed into Tianyang's stomach. It was clean, not a single bit was left. Seeing this, the second elder of the Xianyuan family was completely dumbfounded. Tianyang smiled faintly and took a step forward. Inner core gathered in his hand and was about to make a decisive move against the second elder of the Xianyuan family. At this moment, a deep and resounding shout suddenly sounded out. "Little bastard! If you dare to touch the second elder, I will kill your father immediately." Hearing this, Tianyang was slightly startled and raised his head. He saw that in the distance, the Xianyuan family patriarch was holding a middle-aged man in ragged clothes. His face was extremely ferocious. That man was none other than the Tian family patriarch, Tian Hao. Seeing this, Tianyang's face turned ugly and the inner core in his hand fluctuated. "Xianyuan Kongming, if you dare to touch my father, then wait for the entire Xianyuan family to be buried with my father," Tianyang roared. Hearing this, Xianyuan Kongming sneered. The strange thing was that the figure holding Tian Hao suddenly became transparent. Chapter 13:12. A dignified great sage only knows this little trick? At this moment, Tianyang smiled indifferently. In an instant, a terrifying and powerful dragon pattern bloomed on the surface of his skin. The terrifying dragon power rose, almost exceeding the limit of the sage realm. With lightning speed, he turned around and punched. Boom! The fist and the sword light collided, instantly stirring up a terrifying energy ripple. Xianyuan Kongming, who slashed out with the sword, also had a slight change in expression. His figure flashed, and the sword light in his hand bloomed again. Tianyang was not afraid. With a laugh, he formed a seal with both hands. A terrifying seal was condensed. Primordial mystique, primordial blood seal. Boom! An incomparably terrifying blood-colored seal erupted from Tianyang's hands. It seemed to carry the power of the primordial wilderness. It could swallow heaven and earth with blood. Tianyang did not focus much on cultivating the primordial blood seal, but he had already cultivated it to the 3rd level. In terms of power, it was not inferior to the strongest sacred martial arts. In an instant, the sword light slashed out by Xianyuan Kongming shattered, and Xianyuan Kongming's expression also became extremely ugly at this moment. He put down the face of the Xianyuan family's patriarch. First, he held Tian Hao hostage, and then he secretly launched a sneak attack. Like this, it was still resolved by Tianyang? Just the strength that he had displayed in the blink of an eye was no weaker than the Blood Soul Supreme Sage. This guy is only 30 years old. Xianyuan Kongming's heart was set off a storm. Unlike other cultivators, Xianyuan Kongming knew Tianyang very well. 31 years ago, Xianyuan Qingmeng traveled to various worlds. Her last stop was the Tianshao Great World, and it was 31 years ago that Xianyuan Qingmeng and Tian Hao met. A year later, she gave birth to the current Tianyang. Xianyuan Kongming did not know that Tianyang actually had 15 years of innately terminated meridians. Even if he was a waste, he had only cultivated for 15 years. However, even according to Xianyuan Kongming's knowledge, even if Tianyang started cultivating in his mother's womb, he had only cultivated for about 30 years. In 30 years, he had the power to approach and even defeat a great sage. This kind of talent was no longer a prodigy. It was a monster. An existence that should not exist in this world. Immortal bloodline, is it really so powerful? Xianyuan Kongming stared at Tianyang's eyes. Whether it was Tianyang or Tianhao, each of their talents were enough to make every one of the Xianyuan family's jealousy. If Tianhao had not reached the rank 7 martial honorable realm, he would have killed his way into the Xianyuan family and been captured by Xianyuan Kongming. If he had endured for a few more years, he might have been able to enter the sage realm. In the entire Xianyuan family, only the Xianyuan goddess Xianyuan Qingmeng, who appeared once in a million years, could be compared to Tianhao. In the end, Tianhao actually tainted Xianyuan Qingmeng's pure bloodline. Now, there was a Tianyang who was even more terrifying than Xianyuan Qingmeng and Tianhao. Even if the Xianyuan family had stood at the peak of the Xianyuan great world for countless years, and even had many Xianyuan emperor physiques, Xianyuan Kongming's eyes were still filled with jealousy. At this moment, Xianyuan Kongming's expression suddenly changed. Tianyang, who was in front of him, suddenly disappeared. Oh no! As if he had thought of something, Xianyuan Kongming instantly turned his head and saw the scene of Tianyang saving Tianhao. Damn it! He was actually distracted. Xianyuan Kongming growled, held the Xianyuan sword in his hand, and viciously attacked Tianyang. On the other hand, Tianyang's expression was indifferent. Since Tianhao had been saved, now was the time to end things with Xianyuan Kongming. With a flash of black light, the great void sword embryo appeared, and with a flash of white light, the heaven-devouring secret skill was unleashed. Boom! A terrifying devouring power erupted from the heavenly sword. The heaven and earth spiritual qi that the Xianyuan family had accumulated for countless years was crazily being devoured by Tianyang. At this moment, Tianyang's aura skyrocketed. Stop it! Seeing this, Xianyuan Kongming's eyes turned red. This was the heaven and earth spiritual qi that the Xianyuan family had accumulated for countless years. This little bastard was actually devouring it in front of him. Xianyuan Dragon Slaying Sword. Xianyuan Kongming roared and slashed out with his sword. As if it could split mountains and seas, a terrifying sword radiance erupted from Xianyuan Kongming's Xianyuan sword. Its power was on a completely different level from that of the Xianyuan saint. At this moment, Tianyang had also completed the leap from the beginner saint stage to the intermediate saint stage. Blossom of the Red Spider Lily. Tianyang's expression was indifferent as he slashed out with his sword. The massacre domain turned into a surging nether river. A flower that combined life and death bloomed enchantingly. Boom! It seemed that everything around them was shattered because of this. Countless gorgeous buildings of the Xianyuan family were shattered at this moment, and the second elder of the Xianyuan family was in the aftermath of the battle between the two. He was killed by the shockwave. Under Xianyuan Kongming's incredulous gaze, his Xianyuan dragon slaying sword collided with the sword of Tianyang, an ordinary saint stage expert. Both of them dissipated. How can this bastard be so strong? Xianyuan Kongming said in disbelief. It was shocking enough for a saint to be able to fight against a great saint. Tianyang, on the other hand, was only a saint stage expert, but he was able to fight against a great saint like Xianyuan Kongming head-on. The difficulty had simply multiplied by countless times. However, Tianyang still managed to break through. Do you people of the Xianyuan family have the habit of being distracted on the battlefield? At this moment, an evil laughter sounded in Xianyuan Kongming's ears. Xianyuan Kongming's expression changed drastically. The power of his primordial spirit exploded, and he instantly found Tianyang's position. In a hurry, he stabbed out with his sword. However, Tianyang's sword was not only supported by the heavenly sword's sky-devouring secret technique, but also the chaos origin. Boom! 10,000 Mammoth Annihilation. This sword, integrated with the power of 6 saint paths, shattered Xianyuan Kongming's hasty stab with an unstoppable force, and at the same time, sent him flying. Pft! Xianyuan Kongming spurted blood from his mouth. Tianyang's sword Tao, boundless Tao, life and death Tao, 10,000 mammoth Tao, as well as the power of the nascent saint stage and true Yuan saint stage rushed into Xianyuan Kongming's body. Without mercy, it directly impacted Xianyuan Kongming's body. Even though Xianyuan Kongming had tried his best to eliminate the power of 6 saint paths, it might be easy to eliminate 1 saint path, but to eliminate the fusion of 6 saint paths, it was almost as difficult as ascending to the heavens. Xianyuan Kongming had already exhausted all his strength to restore peace in his body. How could he have the time to care about where he was sent flying? Rumble with a loud bang, Xianyuan Kongming's body directly crashed into the patriarch's mansion and turned it into dust. Smoke and dust filled the sky. At this moment, Tianyang was stunned. The power of his primordial spirit noticed that under the patriarch's mansion, it seemed that there was another world? In the next moment, Tianyang's body trembled as he felt a familiar aura from the depths of his soul. His primordial spirit surged wildly, and the smoke and dust instantly dispersed. Tianyang also saw the huge altar underground. Chapter 13:13. That's Tianyang was stunned. Then, with the connection of blood being thicker than water, he instantly recognized her. The mother of this body, the heavenly lady of the Xianyuan family, Xianyuan Qingmeng. What? Seeing this, Xianyuan Kongming's expression changed. He did not expect to crash into his own master's mansion. Xianyuan Qingmeng was exposed. However, Xianyuan Kongming did not know that if he was defeated by Tianyang, Tianyang could still find Xianyuan Qingming's whereabouts with the memories of the Blood Soul Supreme Sage that Tianyang had just devoured. It would just take a little effort. Is that Master's mother? In the Vientiane Sky Market, Ling Yuhan also saw Xianyuan Qingming, who was sealed in the center of the altar through Tianyang's vision. So beautiful! Ling Yuhan exclaimed. Tian Hao, who was thrown into the Vientiane Sky Market by Tianyang before he could say a word to Tianyang, was still in a daze. When he heard Xianyuan Qingming's name, he jumped up instantly. Xiaomeng? You saw Xiaomeng? Tian Hao roared, his eyes red. Wu Zun's aura of a stage 7 state was released. Ling Yuhan was shocked. She shared the vision with Tianyang and knew what kind of person Tian Hao was, so she did not dare to say anything. She's under the master's mansion of the Xianyuan family, as expected. Hearing this, Tian Hao's face suddenly became ferocious. The Xianyuan family bastards only know how to sacrifice innocent people for them. Hearing this, although Ling Yuhan did not understand, he could only nod his head. At this moment, after Tianyang saw Xianyuan Qingmeng, he immediately changed his mind and rushed towards Xianyuan Qingmeng. For this trip, destroying the Xianyuan family was secondary. First, he had to find Xianyuan Qingmeng and rescue her. Only with his parents safe would Tianyang have the confidence to go on a killing spree. Don't even think about it. Seeing this, Xianyuan Kongming also noticed Tianyang's movements. With a roar, he charged towards Tianyang. After all, Xianyuan Kongming was a powerhouse among the great sages. Although the 10,000 mammoth annihilation had caused him a lot of trouble, it was repaired by Xianyuan Kongming in just a few seconds. Other than the loss of blood and qi, there were no side effects at all. Instantly, he activated his movement technique and rushed out in an attempt to stop Tianyang. On the other hand, Tianyang's boundless 9 transformations was a powerful movement technique that could grow infinitely. On top of that, Tianyang's boundless Tao was nearing the Great Saint realm. The two complemented each other. The extreme speed that erupted was naturally not what Xianyuan Kongming could contend with. In an instant, Tianyang arrived at the altar. However, as if there was a wall of air, Tianyang was sent flying as soon as he rushed up. Ah! Xianyuan Qingming was an existence favored by Lord Profound God. Even if the bloodline in her body is tainted, Lord Profound God still values Xianyuan Qingming. Even a trace of Lord Profound God's divine power is enough to make a great sage helpless, let alone a mere sage like you. Seeing that Tianyang was sent flying, Xianyuan Kongming's face suddenly revealed a trace of a maniacal smile. Hearing this, Tianyang's face darkened slightly. He did not expect the identity of this body's mother to be so troublesome. Without a doubt, Lord Profound God was also a deity. In other words, he was in existence on the same level as the Snow Fox God, Snow God, and the Sky Tyrant Dragon God. A deity is in existence above the Holy Emperor. If you want to break through, I'm afraid that ordinary methods will not be effective. Tianyang also noticed that although this layer of air wall looked soft and weak, it did not have much strength. However, with his previous speed, if converted into attack power, he could completely kill the second elder of the Xianyuan family. However, he was still sent flying back. In that case, it was possible that his 10,000 mammoth annihilation would also be reflected by this divine power barrier. How dare you barge into my Xianyuan family and cause a ruckus? Kid, go to hell. At this moment, Xianyuan Kongming's face suddenly became ferocious. He roared angrily and charged towards Tianyang. Space-time blink. At this moment, Tianyang snorted coldly and activated the Chaos Origin. Space-time stagnated. Including everyone in the Vientiane Sky ruins, the space-time within a 100-meter radius of them seemed to have slowed down countless times. Xianyuan Kongming's ferocious face was also dissected into countless images. Tianyang was the only one who was free in this stagnated space-time. Boom! With a slash of the sword, space-time returned to normal and a terrifying wound was left on Xianyuan Kongming's torso. A second passed. Fresh blood spurted out like a waterfall. Xianyuan Kongming instantly spat out a large mouthful of blood. He was severely injured and for a short period of time, he no longer had the strength to chase after Tianyang. What kind of technique was that? Xianyuan Kongming stared at Tianyang's rapidly flying back and spat out another mouthful of blood as he roared. At that moment, Xianyuan Kongming even felt that he had lost contact with the entire world. He could only watch as Tianyang heavily slashed his chest with a terrifying sword. As for him, other than the protective true origin and the sacred robe, he could do nothing to defend himself. What kind of demonic technique was that? Xianyuan Kongming's face turned solemn. At this moment, Tianyang arrived outside the divine power barrier once again. Even space-time blink can't do anything? Tianyang's face sank slightly. The previous space-time blink included the divine power barrier. However, the space-time stagnation of the divine power barrier was far less terrifying than Xianyuan Kongming's. If that's the case, Tianyang's eyes narrowed. At this moment, Xianyuan Kongming's face twisted and he laughed maniacally. Still want to struggle? How can mere mortals like you shake the power of the profound God? At this moment, the great void sword embryo in Tianyang's hand was filled with traces of chaotic light. In the next moment, Tianyang slashed out with his sword. Boom! This sword seemed to contain the boundless great Tao of the heavens and realms. The divine power barrier could not withstand this sword that contained the origin of chaos and exploded with a loud bang. At this moment, Xianyuan Qingmeng also noticed Tianyang. Instantly, her eyes widened and she shook her head frantically. Don't come over! Tianyang was stunned. Then, he slashed out 2 sword radiances from his hands and cut off the 2 chains. At this moment, Xianyuan Qingming's face turned pale instantly. Tianyang did not understand, but his figure still flashed, and he came to Xianyuan Qingming's side. With a wave of his hand, Xianyuan Qingming was also taken into the Vientiane Sky ruins. At this moment, a furious roar suddenly came out from Xianyuan Kongming's throat. How is this possible? How is this possible? Xianyuan Kongming roared angrily. The divine power barrier that Lord Xian put down could not withstand this brat's sword? What kind of monster is this brat? If that's the case, Xianyuan Kongming roared. In the next moment, the space bag flashed and two figures appeared in his hands. What? Tianyang was stunned. In the Vientiane sky ruins, Yun Xuanyuan's face changed drastically at this moment. Father! Mother! Yun Xianyuan roared. At this moment, Xianyuan Kongming circulated his true origin and woke the two people in his hands. Xianyuan Kongming, you will die a horrible death. My Xiao Yun did not die with your dog sh*t holy son. You are very wise. The woman instantly roared angrily. However, Xianyuan Kongming ignored her. Instead, he spoke in a strangely high-pitched voice. I am Xianyuan Kongming, the patriarch of the Xianyuan family. I have encountered the great calamity of Xianyuan. I am willing to use the blood of my family to summon the patriarch to come out of seclusion in advance. In the next moment, Xianyuan Kongming exerted strength in his hands and directly crushed the two people's heads. Seeing this, in the Vientiane sky ruins, Yun Xuanyuan's face instantly turned pale and he roared in grief. Chapter 13-14. Fresh blood splattered everywhere like flowers. In the Vientiane sky ruins, Yun Xianyuan knelt on the ground, his pupils dilated to the limit. He stared blankly at the scene in front of him. His line of sight zoomed in rapidly. However, even though Tianyang had already attacked with all his might, he could not stop Xianyuan Kongming's actions. After the two of them had their skulls crushed, their bodies were crushed by the true origin and turned into dust. They died without a complete corpse. Yun Xuanyuan's eyes were empty and lifeless. No matter how Ling Yuhan touched Yun Xianyuan, she could not make him move even an inch. When he was young, before the Black Beauty Yin body was discovered, it was the two of them who had led Yun Xianyuan on the path of martial arts. After the Black Beauty Yin body was discovered, it was the two of them who stood their ground and did not allow him to become a worthless piece of trash. His every move, every bit of his cultivation, every bit of it, all had their shadows. Now it was empty. Ah! Yun Xianyuan suddenly roared. A terrifying pure Yin force erupted from Yun Xuanyuan's body and surged wildly in all directions of the Vientiane sky ruins. Even experts like Xianyuan Qingmeng and Tian Hao were blown away by the terrifying pure Yin force. As for Ling Yuhan, even with her 9 nether saint body, she took a few steps back. With Yun Xianyuan as the center, in the Vientiane sky ruins, there was a 1,000-mile radius. It was dark. The primordial chi fed on emotions. It was unknown when the Heavens Expanse Holy Spirit walked out of the Heavens Expanse temple. He looked at Yun Xianyuan in the center of the darkness with a complicated expression. His eyes were still empty and motionless. Yun Xuanyuan's Black Beauty Yin body had awakened. Damn it! Tianyang did not expect Xianyuan Kongming to be so cruel. He even wanted to kill his own people. The origin of chaos condensed on the great void sword embryo. In an instant Tianyang roared. His figure suddenly disappeared. The surrounding time and space froze again. Time and space instant. At this moment, Xianyuan Kongming was severely injured by time and space instant. At this moment, he was already prepared. The true origin in his body exploded, greatly reducing the effect of time and space on Xianyuan Kongming. At the same time, it also released a terrifying defense, causing Heavenly Sun to only be able to send Xianyuan Kongming flying again, unable to directly kill him. Even so, Xianyuan Kongming spat a mouthful of blood. Of Xianyuan Kongming. I, Xianyuan Kongming, welcome the ancestor. In the next moment, the sky and of heaven and earth changed. The originally clear sky was completely covered by dark clouds at this moment. The ground beneath their feet was also unknowingly covered with numerous cracks. Heavenly Sun's pupils shrank. The power of the primordial spirit, that had been spreading for 100 miles around him, was actually forcefully withdrawn back into his body. And Xianyang. Of Xianyang. Of Xianyang. Xuanyaf heaven. Yes. Yun of the Xianyuan family was nourished by the spiritual qi of heaven and earth. The sky was always clear. But at this moment, it was shrouded in terrifying winds and torrential rain. Not only was it violent, but it was also extremely cold. The raindrops fell on Tianyang's arm, almost freezing Tianyang's arm. Tianyang stood in place. At this moment, he could only stand in place. At this moment, even breathing was difficult for him. This is... Tianyang's primordial spirit roared wildly, trying to break through that layer of blockage to investigate the surrounding situation. However, in the next moment, everything in Tianyang froze. In front of him, a door, like the 2 or 3 meters high door that every family had, opened from nothingness. Inside the door, a white-haired young man slowly walked out. The young man was no more than 1.5 or 1.6 meters tall. His young face was not only handsome, but he seemed to be only 18 or 19 years old. However, that head of white hair was not normal white hair. Instead, it was white hair that had completely lost its vitality and was as withered as a dying tree. His pair of black eyes seemed to be able to see through the vicissitudes of the world. "Descendant, why have you awakened me?" The white-haired young man spoke slowly. His voice was very strange and incomparably old, just like his white hair. At this moment, Xianyuan Kongming's face was also extremely respectful. "Lord Ancestor, it was not my wish to awaken you in advance this time. However, my Xianyuan family has reached a critical moment of life and death. If Lord Ancestor does not appear, my Xianyuan family's endless years of foundation will only be left with you," Xianyuan Kongming said. Hearing this, the white-haired young man nodded slightly, then glanced at Xianyuan Kongming. "You are the family head, right? A great Holy Land cultivation base, not bad. However, my Xianyuan family's family head was a great Holy Land in the past. But, it's up to you." Then, the white-haired young man stretched out his finger. Xianyuan Kongming was shocked to find that the almost fatal injuries caused by Tianyang's 2 instantaneous space-time were rapidly healing, and the true origin that Xianyuan Kongming had consumed in the battle was also rapidly recovering. This was the power of the Xianyuan family's ancestor? Only the family heads of the Xianyuan family knew that there had always been an ancestor in the Xianyuan family. He had been in seclusion since 50 million years ago. However, none of the family heads dared to disturb this ancestor because this ancestor was the last trump card of the Xianyuan family. It was because Tianyang had almost destroyed the Xianyuan family that the family head of the Xianyuan family used this last resort to awaken the ancestor in seclusion. It seems that this time, it's really serious. The white-haired young man looked at the messy Xianyuan family again, and said slowly. At the same time, his emotionless eyes looked at Tianyang. Tianyang's eyes met with the white-haired young man's eyes. Instantly, he felt as if his heart was being squeezed tightly. At this moment, he was completely suffocating. Now, he finally understood. The person in front of him was definitely not a great Holy Land. A great Holy Land was a 4th-grade heaven and earth spirit being. The Thunder Great Holy Land was a human grade. The Blood Great Holy Land was a spiritual grade. The Blood Soul Great Holy Land was a peak spiritual grade. As for Xianyuan Kongming, he was an earth grade. However, even if he was a heaven grade, it was impossible for him to give Tianyang such a terrifying oppressive force. The surrounding space did not explode inch by inch. However, thousands of miles away, it had formed a spatial fracture zone. This was done intentionally by the white-haired young man. Otherwise, the space within thousands of miles would not be able to withstand the white-haired young man's power and would completely shatter. He had surpassed a great Holy Land and was a half-step Holy Emperor. A junior who is not even 100 years old can also force the Xianyuan family to such an extent. The white-haired young man said indifferently. Such talent can be said to be peerless. However, since you're the enemy of the Xianyuan family, then die. Damn it! Tianyang's expression changed drastically. He roared and the heavenly sword shone brightly. A sword light quickly condensed. It represented Tianyang's strongest attack, the heavenly sword's second martial spirit talent, the heavenly sword. As if it was enough to destroy the world, the terrifying sword light ruthlessly blasted towards the white-haired young man. Xianyuan Kongming's expression instantly changed. This sword, if he was hit by the previous him, he would definitely die. However, the white-haired young man's expression was indifferent and he did not move. That sword light shattered 3 feet in front of the white-haired young man. How? Tianyang's pupils contracted. This sword could kill Xianyuan Kongming in an instant. It was only now that it had finished accumulating power. You have some strength. At this moment, the white-haired young man said indifferently. However, everyone below the Saint Emperor is an ant. It's the same for a half-Saint Emperor. Then, he pointed his finger. There was no beam of light and Tianyang's heart instantly disappeared. His body seemed to have been hit by a heavy hammer and was directly blasted several miles away. However, he crashed into the spatial barrier and spat out a mouthful of blood. His life force had fallen to the lowest point in his body. He was seriously injured. Chapter 13-15. A half-holy emperor. It wasn't just Tianyang. Xianyuan Qingming, Tian Hao and Ling Yuhan in the Vientiane Sky Market also recognized the white-haired young man's cultivation. His face became incomparably pale. A holy emperor was the strongest existence in the mysterious sky great world. The white-haired young man was already a half-holy emperor. It could be said that he was the strongest in the entire mysterious sky great world. After all, a half-holy emperor was the only half-holy emperor. At this moment, Tianyang fell heavily to the ground as blood flowed from the corner of his mouth. The power of a half-holy emperor was much more powerful than he had imagined. If Tianyang unleashed his full strength, he might be close to a heavenly great sage. However, in front of a half-holy emperor, he was just an ant. The immortal flame burned in Tianyang's heart, repairing Tianyang's body. Fortunately, Tianyang had already cultivated the immortal bone to the small success realm when he had entered the sage realm. Otherwise, that strike from before would have been enough to kill him. You can actually withstand one attack? At this moment, the white-haired young man said in a surprised voice. The white-haired young man moved and appeared 1,000 meters away from Tianyang. As the white-haired young man moved, the focus of the entire world seemed to have changed. The white-haired young man seemed to have become the core of this world. What kind of body constitution is this? The white-haired young man looked curiously at the immortal flame burning in Tianyang's heart and asked in surprise. The immortal bloodline was passed down from the Archean era. However, even though the mysterious sky great world was prosperous and had a deep understanding of the Archean era, they didn't know about the immortal bloodline. Xianyuan Kongming only knew about it because of Xianyuan Qingming. This bloodline is called the immortal bloodline, but it's just an exaggeration. In fact, it's a body constitution with extremely high recovery power. As long as the primordial spirit is destroyed, this young man will definitely die. Xianyuan Kongming said respectfully. Although he could kill Tianyang with just a casual attack, he still didn't dare to do so. However, Xianyuan Kongming still wisely chose to watch from the side. Even if he recovered to his peak state, he would still be as insignificant as Tianyang in front of a half-saint emperor. Undying bloodline? The white-haired young man raised his eyebrows. That's a pretty big name. He even claims to be a descendant of the immortal heavenly lord. I really don't know where that Tian Hao heard of this name and couldn't wait to put it on himself. Seeing that Tianyang almost had no strength to fight, Xianyuan Kongming ridiculed him unscrupulously. Undying heavenly sovereign? Hearing this, the white-haired young man's eyes narrowed slightly, and his expression changed slightly. However, it immediately returned to normal. The legendary peerless expert from the primordial era was something that I only managed to find after searching through all the ancient books of the Xianyuan family. However, there's no need to know too much. After all, even if they do possess the bloodline of the immortal heavenly sovereign, they're just ants now. Xianyuan Kongming laughed. Hearing this, the white-haired youth also nodded slightly. That's right. Although I can sense that there's a part of the Xianyuan family's bloodline in your body. However, since you dared to destroy my Xianyuan family to such a state, your only ending is death. The white-haired young man said indifferently, and in the next moment, he pointed his finger again. Boom! The heart that had just grown out of Tianyang's heart exploded again. Tianyang's body shook, and he spat out another mouthful of blood. This time, even the undying divine fire was extinguished by the white-haired young man's half-saint emperor strength. Damn it, the power of Tianyang's heaven-devouring secret skill was fading rapidly. Soon, it fell from the peak of the middle-level saint realm to the beginner-level saint realm. Although Tianyang's undying bloodline was circulating rapidly, it was still unable to retain Tianyang's life force. Master! Seeing this, Ling Yuhan immediately shouted, tears streaming down her face. Tian Hao and Xianyuan Qingmeng also clenched their fists tightly. However, they could only watch as the white-haired youth killed Tianyang bit by bit as if he was slaughtering a chicken or a dog. Great ancestor, this kid has many secrets. I hope that when you destroy his primordial spirit, you can preserve some of his secret. Otherwise, letting him die in vain like this is more or less letting him off too easily. Xianyuan Kongming laughed sinisterly. Hearing this, the white-haired youth nodded slightly. You don't need to mention this. Invading the Xianyuan family, regardless of life or death, you have to pay a price. In the next moment, the white-haired youth pointed his finger again. Boom! At this moment, Tianyang's entire chest exploded. Even if the undying bloodline burned wildly, it could not ignite the undying divine fire. No matter how the divine wilderness heaven spirit art was circulated, it could not condense a trace of true Yuan. Tianyang's vision gradually blurred. His life force was flowing away like a tide. This physical body is quite tenacious. However, I'm not interested anymore. The white-haired youth looked at Tianyang, who had completely lost his ability to resist, and said indifferently. In the next moment, his right hand opened up. This time, I'll let your primordial spirit shatter directly. A supreme talent of a generation will have a more pleasant death. The white-haired youth said indifferently. In the next moment, his palms suddenly clenched. At this moment, in the Vientiane sky ruins, a space crack was suddenly struck open by an extremely terrifying force of ice. Immediately after, a figure suddenly appeared in front of Tianyang. What? Tianyang's scattered primordial spirit condensed instantly. He stared at the figure in front of him and forcefully activated the power of his primordial spirit. Yuhan, what are you doing? I'm sorry, Master. I may not be able to see you again. The nine-nether saint body erupted to its limit. The bloodline of the nine-tailed heavenly moonfox was completely ignited. A terrifying force of the nine-nether yellow springs erupted from Ling Yuhan's body. It turned into a rolling cold current and charged towards the white-haired youth. The invisible murderous force was instantly blocked by a terrifying layer of ice. Immediately after, Ling Yuhan's face was resolute. Her entire body was burning with icy blue flames. Stop! Tianyang roared crazily. However, his physical body had been destroyed and he could not move at all. As your master, I order you to stop! Tianyang crazily roared, while Ling Yuhan slowly turned around, a sad yet beautiful smile appearing at the corners of her mouth. I'm sorry. I'm not obedient. This time, I can't listen to Master. In the next moment, a terrifying force that had surpassed Wu Zun's peak, even surpassing the Sage-to-Be and the Sage realm, erupted violently. Everything within a radius of 1,000 miles was sealed by an icy blue ray of ice. 9 Nether Frost Sky Technique. Nether seals the 9 heavens. Chapter 13:16. Underworld seals the 9 heavens. Everything within a 1,000-mile radius, from top to bottom, was sealed in ice by the unparalleled power of ice. This power surpassed everything in the Xiantian Great World, and was close to the Sage Realm. Just like how the heavenly sun could not shatter the barrier of divine energy unless one used the origin of primal chaos, not even a sage emperor could break through this ice seal. No! Tianyang's eyes turned blood-red. His entire body burned with the undying flame as he forcefully repaired his body and rushed toward Ling Yuhan. Seeing Ling Yuhan gradually disappear into the ice, Tianyang's eyes actually started to tear up. Vast expanse, Holy Spirit. Didn't you say that the Sage Emperor is nothing in front of you? Get out here! Tianyang roared crazily as he came to Ling Yuhan's side and pulled her into his arms. Extreme cold. The moment they touched, it was as if Tianyang's undying flame was going to be extinguished and Tianyang's body was going to be frozen. When Ling Yuhan saw this, her lips curled into a warm smile. Master, let's go. Underworld seals the 9 heavens. It won't last long. Vast expanse, Holy Spirit. Get out here! Tianyang roared crazily. In the next moment, specks of golden light gathered around Tianyang. Instantly, they turned into the appearance of a little girl. At this moment, the little girl's face was filled with a complicated expression as she looked at Ling Yuhan, whose life force was continuously being eroded by this piece of ice. Your disciple is forcefully activating the ultimate meaning of the 9 Nether Frost technique, causing her body to be completely. Don't talk nonsense. Hurry up and tell me how to save Yuhan. Tianyang roared angrily. At this moment, his heart was trembling non-stop. Even when the Xianyuan family patriarch, the half-holy emperor, appeared and was about to kill him. In his previous life, when he was faced with a civilization that no human could resist, when the civilization was destroyed, he had never been as terrified as he was at this moment. He was afraid that Ling Yuhan had really died in order to save him. All right, the golden-haired girl could only nod. Her face was extremely grim. Right now, I can only retrieve the power of the 9 underworlds and bloodline that Ling Yuhan released. However, there will definitely be extremely strong side effects. That's the only way to keep Ling Yuhan alive. Plus, there's a time limit. 1 year. I can only control it for 1 year at most. If you don't resolve everything before then, even the Master of the Heaven's Expanse Temple will not be able to save you," said the little golden girl. Then, without hesitation, she immediately attacked. A supreme power that seemed to transcend this world was released from the little golden girl's hands. The power wasn't strong, but it seemed to be able to control everything. At this moment, the 9 underworlds' energy that permeated the surroundings seemed to be controlled by an invisible hand as it rapidly surged towards Ling Yuhan. Ling Yuhan's life force that was rapidly fading slowly stopped at this moment. However, it only stopped. Ling Yuhan had long lost consciousness, and the life force in her body was extremely weak. "Condense!" the little golden girl shouted in a low voice. The endless 9 underworlds' energy quickly condensed on Ling Yuhan's body. It froze Ling Yuhan in a terrifying block of ice. The only thing I can do is to seal off Ling Yuhan's life force. However, to save her, I can't do it alone," the little golden girl said solemnly. Moreover, with the 9 underworlds' energy retracted, the power of the underworld sealing 9 heavens will be greatly reduced. Originally, this ice seal could last for at least an hour. However, now, it's a problem whether it can last for 10 minutes, the little golden girl said. Hearing this, Tianyang's body trembled. At this moment, a sense of powerlessness surged into his mind. Forcefully activating the undying divine flame, he probably didn't have the ability to escape at this moment. The little golden girl's body had also become much more transparent. If she wanted to bring Tianyang away, she would definitely leave traces behind. In the Vientiane Sky Market, Xianyuan, Qingmeng, and Tian Hao were in a mess. They wanted to bring Tianyang away immediately. However, with their strength, they would definitely leave traces behind. Even if Xianyuan Kongming couldn't track them down, the white-haired young man who was a half-holy emperor would definitely be able to find them. At that time, they would still have to die. Let me do it. At this moment, a cold voice was heard. Xianyuan Qingmeng only realized that Yun Xianyuan, who had released a terrifying pure Yin energy that almost froze the space, had woken up unknowingly. You are Xianyuan Bupos. Heavenly Lady, this isn't the time to acknowledge your family. Yun Xianyuan interrupted Xianyuan Qingmeng without hesitation. In the next moment, his figure flashed. He came to Tianyang's side directly. You! Tianyang was in disbelief. Wasn't Yun Xianyuan controlled by the demon slave seal, and wanted to kill him all the time? Shouldn't she be watching from the side now? Primordial Xian Qi has the mysterious Yin energy and also has the powerful shadow evasion skill. If the mysterious beauty Yin body takes action, it is possible to escape from the Holy Emperor's pursuit. The vast expanse Holy Spirit said excitedly. At this moment, the ice seal in the distance suddenly shook. The white-haired young man moved. Oh no! I might not be able to hold on for more than 10 minutes. Seeing this, the vast expanse Holy Spirit's face changed completely. At this moment, Yun Xianyuan hugged Tianyang without hesitation. Streaks of mysterious Yin energy exploded from Yun Xuanyuan's body. Thank you. Tianyang smiled bitterly. At this moment, he could only let Yun Xianyuan carry him like this. In the next moment, Tianyang looked at the white-haired young man who could move his eyes. Hatred exploded from Tianyang's heart. This old ancestor Xianyuan had forced Lingyuan to use the 9 Netherfrost skill's ultimate skill and almost died. This revenge, Tianyang would not rest until he was dead. Old dog of the Xianyuan family, just you wait. One day, the Xianyuan family will be wiped off the face of the Xiantian great world. All of you, just you wait. I will come and destroy the Xianyuan family. Tianyang roared. In the next moment, Yun Xianyuan brought him into the shadows and left quickly. It was as if he had disappeared from this world. 3 minutes passed. The ice seal on the white-haired young man's body was completely broken. Then, the white-haired young man waved his hand and the ice seal on Xianyuan Kongming's body turned into true yuan and disappeared. Old ancestor, it has only been a few minutes. They can't have gone far. At this moment, Xianyuan Kongming said hurriedly. Thinking of Tianyang's words, Xianyuan Kongming's heart trembled. He did not doubt that if Tianyang cultivated for thousands of years, he would have the ability to overturn this world. Hurry up and go after him. You might be able to catch him. No. The white-haired young man shook his head calmly with the arrogance of a half-holy emperor. Those below the holy emperor are ant. Chapter 13-17. Divine Central Continent, thousands of miles away. In a huge mountain. The sound of space being torn apart could be heard. In the next moment, 3 figures walked out of a pitch-black hole. Yun Xianyuan, Tianyang, and Tianyang hugged Lingyuan tightly, not allowing anyone to touch her. Even though Tianyang's body was almost frozen by Lingyuan's extreme cold energy, he was still unwilling to let go. He let Yun Xianyuan remove it a few times. It should be about time to reach here. Yun Xianyuan said with a pale face. She did not have a destination at all. She was running around randomly. Along the way, she changed her direction countless times to prevent the Xianyuan family from chasing after her. Fortunately, they had been running for 3 days and 3 nights, and there was still no pursuit. Only then did Yun Xianyuan stop. She had no choice but to stop. Otherwise, the crazy consumption of the mysterious Yin energy could cause Yun Xianyuan to faint. At this moment, a golden light flashed in Tianyang's body as he looked around. The heavens expanse Saint Spirit was originally very solid. Other than the color, it looked like a normal person's body. However, at this moment it became translucent like a spiritual body. The heaven's expanse Saint Spirit closed its eyes slightly and released waves of probing energy. After a while, it retracted it. It's okay. Other than demonic beasts and plants, there is no other life around. Hearing this, Yun Xianyuan was finally relieved. Although the heavens expanse Saint Spirit had never paid any attention to Yun Xianyuan and Ling Yuhan in the Vientiane sky ruins, Yun Xianyuan knew how powerful the heavens expanse Saint Spirit was. Previously, when it attacked above the Xianyuan family, it seemed to have reversed the heavens and earth. It reversed the 9 underworlds' energy that Ling Yuhan had unleashed and forcefully saved Ling Yuhan's life. Such a method was heaven-defying. At this time, Xianyuan Qingmeng and Tian Hao also appeared in a flash. Looking at the Tianyang in Yun Xuanyuan's arms, their expressions were extremely ugly. Xianyuan Kongming, that old dog, I didn't expect him to have such a deep trump card. Tian Hao looked at the severely injured Tianyang, his face gloomy to the extreme. Even after 3 days and 3 nights, Tianyang's injuries showed no signs of recovery. What Tianyang said to ancestor Xianyuan was the last of his strength. After saying that, he fell into a coma. His entire torso had been destroyed by the white-haired youth's terrifying power, leaving behind only the indestructible bones that were riddled with scars. It was also this indestructible bone that kept Tianyang alive. Otherwise, Tianyang would have been blown into 2 halves, and there would not have been a chance for him to forcibly ignite the indestructible divine flame and summon the vast expanse Saint Spirit to save Ling Yuhan. I didn't expect this kid to have cultivated 2 levels of the immortal divine body. After scolding Xianyuan Kongming, Tian Hao walked over. Yun Xianyuan, on the other hand, handed Tianyang to Tian Hao with some reluctance. If it wasn't because I'm too weak, why would Yang end up like this? Looking at the unconscious Tianyang, who would have died if it wasn't for the indestructible divine flame still burning on the indestructible bones, Tian Hao punched his own chest fiercely. He had overestimated himself. Wu Zun, who was only at the 7th level, wanted to take Xianyuan Qingmeng away from the Xianyuan family, causing him to be captured by the Xianyuan family. If he had cultivated for another few hundred years and strengthened his immortal bloodline to a certain level, he would have directly broken into the Xianyuan family. Why would Tianyang be on the verge of death and Ling Yuhan almost die? This isn't your fault. Seeing Tian Hao so sorrowful, Xianyuan Qingmeng couldn't help but speak up. At this moment Tian Hao sighed. I think it's better if I don't stay here. Hearing this, Yun Xianyuan and the heavens expanse Holy Spirit were both stunned. They didn't know why Tian Hao said this. However, Xianyuan Qingmeng seemed to know Tian Hao very well. She wasn't surprised at all. I'm only at Wu Zun's level of cultivation, and Qingmeng is only at the peak of the half-saint level. The 2 of us aren't even as good as Yang Er. If we stay here, we'll only be a burden to Yang Er. Tian Hao said. Hearing this, Yun Xianyuan couldn't help but say, but Tianyang killed his way into the Xianyuan family for the 2 of you. That's right. That's why I have to leave. Not only me, but Qingmeng has to leave too. We've already been a burden to Yang Er once. If we follow Yang Er, there'll only be a 2nd time and a 3rd time. Xianyuan Qingmeng said. Hearing this, Yun Xianyuan seemed to understand something and nodded silently. Don't worry. We'll go to the Northern Wilderness Desert. The Northern Wilderness Desert is a wilderness. Although the Xianyuan family is powerful, they don't have the ability to reach into the Northern Wilderness Desert. These are all the treasures I got in the Tianshao Great World, the Xiantian Great World. Among them, there's a part of the immortal divine body's inheritance. Although I don't know if he got it, it should be helpful. Tian Hao smiled. Hearing this, Xianyuan Qingmeng also took out her space ring. Please pass our things to Tianyang. Hearing this, Xianyuan Qingmeng took the space bag and space ring. Her expression was complicated. If the Xianyuan family, don't worry. There's also a space scroll that I made using the Xiantian bloodline. Yang can use this to know if we're dead or alive. If we're being hunted, we'll naturally use the space scroll to teleport to Yang side. Xianyuan Qingming smiled. Hearing this, Yun Xianyuan could only nod. Although Xianyuan Qingming was Yun Xuanyuan's elder, Yun Xianyuan was very unfamiliar with her. However, Xianyuan Yun was extremely unfamiliar with this heavenly daughter. Now that Xianyuan Qingming wanted to leave, Xianyuan Yun could not say much to urge her to stay. After that, Tian Hao and Xianyuan Qingming turned and left, heading toward the northern wilderness desert. This place was not far from the northern wilderness desert. Otherwise, they wouldn't have been able to leave so easily. A weak bloodline can actually awaken my undying thoughts twice? In Tianyang, deep in the Sea of Soul, a figure had a strange expression on his face. In front of him, Tianyang's primordial spirit, which was on the verge of shattering, was slowly floating. This bloodline density. It should be. I don't know what bloodline has tainted the immortal bloodline. Even if he has comprehended the immortal will, it shouldn't have made the original body come out twice. The figure pondered. Then, he touched Tianyang's primordial spirit with his finger. In an instant, it was as if something had rushed into the figure. Immortal eye, immortal bone? The figure was stunned. I didn't expect this kid to find two immortal divine bodies. If that's the case, it explains why his father's bloodline density is so much higher than his, but he can't find me even once. The figure chuckled. However, as the descendant of the immortal heavenly lord, how could he be beaten so badly? Then, the figure raised one of his hands and a flame slowly burned. Tianyang's immortal bloodline also shone brightly at this moment. What's going on? The expression of Yun Xianyuan, who was guarding outside, changed drastically. He hurriedly turned his head to look. He saw. A terrifying flame was burning on Tianyang's body. In the flame. Chapter 13:18. The raging, undying divine fire seemed like it was going to burn through the entire world. The extremely terrifying immortal energy was released from Tianyang's body. Even the heaven's expanse saint's spirit revealed a look of shock on his face. What's going on? Tianyang did not eat any elixirs, nor did he absorb any spiritual qi. How could he suddenly ignite such a powerful, undying divine fire? At the same time, Tianyang's flesh was regenerating rapidly. Tianyang's physical body had already reached the physical sanctification realm. Therefore, as long as he had enough undying divine fire, it would be easy for him to regenerate it. The heavens expanse Holy Spirit naturally thought of this. However, there was something he could not understand. Why did Tianyang's body suddenly burn with such a powerful undying divine fire? According to the density of Tianyang's bloodline, it should not be. The Xianyuan family had always claimed that Tian Hao's undying bloodline had tainted Xianyuan Qingming's Xian God bloodline. However, the heavens expanse Holy Spirit had always known that it was Xianyuan Qingming's Xian God bloodline that had tainted the undying bloodline. After all, no matter how strong a Xian God was, he was just a godly state cultivator. The undying heavenly lord was an immemorial emperor. In terms of strength, he could easily crush countless godly state cultivators. At the same time, Tianyang's aura was recovering rapidly in the undying divine fire. The spiritual qi in the surroundings also surged into Tianyang's body crazily. Body refinement realm, bright qi realm, transforming origin realm, Tao fire realm, sea of soul realm, heavenly ascension realm, Wu Zun realm, saint realm. This time, Tianyang seemed to have reconstructed his cultivation. His Tao foundation was even more perfect. A total of 10 days passed. The undying divine fire burning on Tianyang's body slowly dissipated. As for the heavens expanse Holy Spirit, he was shocked speechless by the changes in Tianyang's body. It should be known that Tianyang was only at the intermediate saint stage, even if he used the Skycloud sword and the heaven-devouring secret skill to the maximum. Right now, Tianyang's cultivation base was already at the mid-level saint realm. If those sage realm almighties who might not be able to make a breakthrough even after cultivating for thousands of years were to know about this, they would probably vomit blood on the spot. This cultivation speed, it's alright. The undying divine flame had completely dissipated. Tianyang's eyes seemed to be twinkling with starlight. If the current him were to fight Xianyuan Kongming, he would definitely be able to kill him within an hour. If he were to fully unleash the heaven-devouring secret art and the firmament sword, his battle prowess would at least be comparable to a great sage heavenly rank expert. Even so, Tianyang didn't look happy at all. Looking at Ling Yuhan, who maintained her poignant smile, Tianyang felt a stab of pain in his heart. All of this was because he wasn't strong enough. If he could kill Xianyuan Kongming in an instant, how could he have allowed Xianyuan Kongming to awaken old ancestor Xianyuan in advance? If he had the cultivation base of a saint emperor, he could have killed the white-haired youth in an instant. How could Ling Yuhan risk her life to forcefully unleash the 9 Nether Frost technique? How could he have allowed the Heaven's Expanse Holy Spirit to help Yun Xianyuan awaken the Xianyuan Yin body to save their lives? Everything was because of his strength. Everything was because he wasn't strong enough. Heaven's Expanse Holy Spirit. At this moment, Tianyang spoke slowly. You should know how to revive Yuhan, right? Ling Yuhan was still alive. As long as she was alive, Tianyang wouldn't use the word revive. I know. The Heaven's Expanse Holy Spirit nodded. She was the one who saved Ling Yuhan. Naturally, she knew how to revive Ling Yuhan. There are 2 reasons why Ling Yuhan is in a frozen state now. Firstly, her life is too weak now. Her true core power and primordial spirit power have been severely overdrawn. Secondly, she released too much 9 nether power, which almost caused her 9 nether saint body to collapse. Even though I saved a part of it, it still caused a backlash. That's why Ling Yuhan's body is covered in ice formed by the 9 nether power, the Heaven's Expanse Holy Spirit said. Hearing that, Tianyang's face lit up with joy. So you're saying that as long as I solve these 2 problems, Yuhan can be revived? It's hard to say, but it's very possible. However, the most important thing now is that you have to find the level 8 sacred flame to melt the ice on Ling Yuhan's body. Otherwise, no matter what you do, it's just empty talk. Hearing that, Tianyang was stunned. Level 8 sacred flame? Will half a step to level 8 sacred flame work? In the ancestral dragon godland, the true destruction flames had swallowed a magma fire spirit. Now, it had broken through to half a step to level 8 sacred flame. It was close to becoming a real level 8 sacred flame. However, hearing that, the Heaven's Expanse Holy Spirit shook her head. No. In fact, it's not certain if the level 8 sacred flame can resolve the backlash of the 9 nether power on Ling Yuhan. Although your half a step to level 8 sacred flame is powerful, it's still too weak. Hearing that, he sighed. Then, as if he had thought of something, he said hurriedly, if I use the immortal fire, no. If Ling Yuhan is only suffering from the backlash of the 9 nether power, you have to use the immortal fire. However, not only is Ling Yuhan suffering from the backlash of the 9 nether power, but she's also burning the 9-tailed moon fox bloodline. The immortal fire is the condensation of the immortal bloodline. If you use the immortal fire, even if a trace of the immortal bloodline enters Ling Yuhan's body, it will cause a conflict between the remaining 9-tailed moon fox bloodline and the immortal bloodline in Ling Yuhan's body. If Ling Yuhan is in perfect condition, she might be able to benefit from this disaster. The immortal bloodline and the 9-tailed moon fox bloodline can merge and form an even stronger bloodline. However, Ling Yuhan can't withstand the fight between the 2 bloodlines now. Moreover, the immortal bloodline is almost one-sided against the 9-tailed moon fox bloodline. At that time, you'll only be harming her. The heavens expanse Holy Spirit said solemnly, her expression serious. She was really afraid that Tianyang would be anxious to save his wife and use the immortal fire. If that was the case, Ling Yuhan would definitely die. Even if Tianyang's bloodline was extremely weak and tainted by the Xian god bloodline, the little bit of his bloodline that entered Ling Yuhan's body might not be able to defeat the pure-blooded nine-tailed moon fox bloodline. The heavens expanse Holy Spirit did not dare to take this risk. Tianyang was the same. Also, you'd better find a mild level 8 holy flame. Your true flames of destruction are too strong and overbearing. It might cause harm. The heavens expanse Holy Spirit said. Hearing that, Tianyang nodded. Since this matter concerned Ling Yuhan, Tianyang's level of caution was naturally the highest. Oh right, this is what Master's parents left for you before they left. It seems to contain the cultivation method of the immortal divine body. At this moment, Yun Xianyuan opened his mouth and handed Xianyuan Qingmeng and Tian Hao's space bags to Tianyang. Hearing that, Tianyang was stunned. Father and mother have left? Yes, they said that they don't want to be a burden to you, Yun Xianyuan said. Hearing that, Tianyang could only nod. All right. After that, Tianyang took out a piece of bone from Tian Hao's space bag. Like the indestructible eye and the indestructible bone, it was pure white and flawless, a treasure made by the heavens. Within it, there was an immense amount of bloodline power. If the 3 pieces of bone that Tianyang had taken were put together, it could faintly form the shape of a human. However, Tianyang did not mind. What Tian Hao had taken should have been duplicated. After that, Tianyang sent the power of his primordial spirit into the white bone. In the next moment, the cultivation method of the immortal divine body crashed into Tianyang's mind. Chapter 13:19. Immortal divine body, immortal blood. The frighteningly powerful flow of information seemed to be about to destroy Tianyang's mind. Tianyang's primordial spirit, which had not fully recovered, trembled violently. On the other hand, Tianyang's face was filled with shock. There are no duplicates? The immortal heavenly lord was a supreme emperor in the primordial age. It was already considered powerful for there to be 2 immortal divine bodies in the Xiantian great world. However, there was a third one. Tianyang did not know that the immortal bone of the tyrant dragon god was not obtained from the Xiantian great world. It was obtained by chance when the tyrant dragon god was traveling around the great world. Tianyang would not have been so surprised if he had known. However, the immortal blood can allow the immortal bloodline to evolve again. Even the immortal divine fire and the immortal eye will evolve. In terms of importance, I'm afraid that the immortal blood is more important than the immortal bone and the immortal eye combined. Tianyang opened his eyes, revealing a look of joy. The immortal blood would definitely allow him to rapidly grow stronger. This way, he would be closer to rescuing Ling Yuhan and destroying the Xianyuan family. Is it useful? At this moment, Xianyuan Yun saw Tianyang's surprised expression. She didn't know why, but she asked this question. Of course. Tianyang smiled and immediately attacked. He blasted open a large cave and entered it. Yun Xianyuan did not know why, but she felt happy and bitter at the same time. Her parents were dead. Ever since she was discovered to have the Xianyuan Yin body, she had been regarded as the exclusive property of the Xianyuan Holy Sun. Even her childhood playmates in the Xianyuan family had been estranged from her. As a result, Yun Xianyuan had always been a loner. Ironically, after her parents were sacrificed by Xianyuan Kongming and the Xianyuan Holy Sun was killed by Tianyang, she looked around and realized that the person closest to her was Tianyang, who she had always wanted to kill with her own hands. As a result, Yun Xuanyuan's expression was extremely complicated. The heavens expanse Holy Spirit did not care about the change in Yun Xuanyuan's mood. Instead, he looked serious as he pondered. Although the heavens expanse Holy Spirit did not know the grade of the 9 Netherfrost formula, there was no doubt. The 9 nether frosty sky art was definitely a powerful cultivation technique for Saint Emperors, or even deities. Although Ling Yuhan's bloodline was powerful, and his physique was strong, even if he had used all of his strength, he still shouldn't have been able to use the ultimate profound meaning of the 9 hell frost heaven art. Heavens 9 heavens, to the heavens sealing formula 9 heavens, to ice to the ice world. Could heavenly opportunity? Heavenly heaven's body? To the heavens holy. To the heaven. To heavenly body holy blood body? Yun to the end heavens heavenly with 2. Heaven and God chi was to it was to the heaven and earth was heavenly heaves it heaven spiritual heaven heavens spiritual chi. It could be said that all of the energy that he had used to devour the venomous insect King Chi had been used up. Even the heaven's expanse Saint Spirit had used up some of it. Back then, when she was with the 9 universes Saint Emperor, she had not even put in so much effort. 5 days later, Tianyang did not cultivate the immortal blood for too long before he came out of seclusion. Even with Tianyang's powerful martial talent, he had only reached the initial success of the imperishable blood. Compared to the imperishable bone and the imperishable eye, it was far too lacking. However, Tianyang didn't care. He wasn't pursuing the peak of martial arts right now. Instead, it was to increase his strength and search for a rank 8 holy flame. As for the Heaven's Expanse Saint Palace's Heaven's Expanse God tier, Tianyang had once again challenged it in these 5 days. Just like how he surpassed the limits of Wu Zun, Tianyang had also surpassed the limits of the Sage Realm. From level 10,081, all the way to level 64,529. The first 10,000 levels of the Boundless Divine tier. The Wu Zun tier was from 10,000 to 60,000 levels. The Saint tier included the Great Saint tier. From level 60,000 to level 99,999,999, the Saint Emperor realm. Level 100,000, which was the limit of the Boundless Heaven tier. According to Tianyang's current understanding, it should be God realm. Tianyang could also roughly guess who the creator of the Heaven's Expanse Temple was. Perhaps he was an immortal realm almighty. However, there were also differences in the immortal state. The weakest immortal state that Tianyang had seen should be the Tyrant Dragon God, followed by the Snow Goddess and the Profound God. For the Heaven's Expanse Emperor Lord to be able to create an existence like the Heaven's Expanse Saint Palace, he should not be weak even among the godly state. Unfortunately, even though Tianyang had obtained a lot of materials for the Great Void Sword embryo from the Heaven's Expanse Temple and upgraded it to the pinnacle of the Saint Weapon level, it was still not enough. Neither did he obtain an 8th Order Holy Flame. But where am I supposed to find a Class 8 Holy Flame, and a gentle one at that? Tianyang's brows furrowed. An 8th Order Sacred Flame was an extremely powerful spiritual flame. Usually, it was only in the hands of the Great Saint or Saint Emperor factions. Although the Saint Emperor factions might not have a real Saint Emperor, Tianyang could not possibly find trouble with them. Who knew if the Saint Emperor factions would summon a half-Saint Emperor Old Ancestor? None of the factions in the mysterious Sky Great World were simple. Banten Semyon's spiritual flame is only half a step away from Class 8 Holy Flame. If it is devoured by the true destructive flames, it might be able to break through to Class 8 Holy Flame. But if Yuhan gets hurt, then we're done for, Tianyang said softly. Beside him, the Heaven's Expanse Saint Spirit's face turned ugly, but there was nothing he could do. Even the Heaven's Expanse Temple did not have one. Thus, it was almost impossible to obtain a Class 8 Holy Flame. That, Master, I might know something. At that moment Yun Xianyuan spoke. Hearing that, Tianyang was stunned. Then, he grabbed Yun Xuanyuan's shoulder excitedly. Really? The most important thing now was the Class 8 Holy Flame. As for recovering life force, Tianyang was now at the level of a saint alchemist. he could refine countless pills. However, the Class 8 Holy Flame was also the most difficult to overcome. If he could obtain the Class 8 Holy Flame, then Ling Yuhan would be halfway through her recovery. Yes. Yun Xuanyuan's face turned red when Tianyang grabbed her shoulder so hard. Seeing that, Tianyang was stunned. Then, he quickly let go of his hand. After all, he had a saint body, and Yun Xianyuan was only a beginner saint. His physical body could probably smash Xianyuan Yun to smithereens. If he were to grab her with such force, Xianyuan Yun wouldn't feel good. It's in the Southern Devil Sea. Yun Xianyuan hurriedly said, as if she was afraid that she would not be able to say it. Southern Devil Sea? Tianyang was stunned when he heard that. His expression turned serious. The Southern Devil Sea was the most mysterious and chaotic place in the entire Xiantian Great Cosmos. In the Eastern Divine Continent, the Central Divine Continent, and other places, demonic sects were hated by everyone. However, in the Southern Devil Sea, all kinds of demonic sects were the masters of the Southern Devil Sea. Chaos, danger, but also countless opportunities. This was the Southern Devil Sea. Over there, even in a big city, one had to be on guard at all times. Perhaps a formation would suddenly appear under one's feet and devour one completely. When he heard that the Class 8 spiritual fire had appeared in the Southern Devil Sea, Tianyang's expression turned ugly. However, Tianyang did not give up. Southern Devil Sea? Tianyang nodded. His expression was extremely cold. Then, I hope those demonic bastards in the Southern Devil Sea will not stand in my way. In the next moment, Tianyang rose into the air, and kept the vast expanse Holy Spirit and Yun Xianyuan. Chapter 13:20. Sand and dust danced in the air as silver lightning flashed. The terrifying power of Wu Zun's peak to the peak of the half-saint exploded in this small space. Roar! A furious roar sounded. In the next moment, countless sharp claws glowed as they ruthlessly attacked the peak Wu Zun. Oh no! Protect the young master! At this moment, the peak half-saint roared and instantly pounced on the claw print. However, he was sent flying by the claw print. How could this be? Even though the claw had been obliterated by this attack, the old man at the peak of the half-saint realm was still shocked. This Dark Moon demonic wolf was about to be killed by its companions. This should be its final attack. How could it have sent him flying? Even the Dark Moon demonic wolf at its peak was not this powerful. Ah! At this moment, the experts surrounding the Dark Moon demonic wolf screamed as they were sent flying by the giant wolf in the storm. There were many wounds on the giant wolf's body that were bleeding profusely. However, there was a strange pattern on the Dark Moon demonic wolf's forehead that was shining with a bloody light. This is the blood demon pattern? How could this Dark Moon demonic wolf have the blood of the blood demon? So, this beast has actually evolved. The peak half-saint looked terrified as he took a few steps back and roared. This Dark Moon demonic wolf was a terrifying demonic beast that was infinitely close to the saint realm. They had chased it for half a month before they managed to severely injure it. It was only on this day that he made his move and decided to kill him completely. Who would have thought that the Dark Moon demonic wolf would evolve when it was on the verge of death? It was already infinitely close to the saint realm. What would it be if it evolved? It was definitely in the saint realm. The strongest person in this group was only a peak half-saint. In front of a saint realm expert, they were like ants that could not resist at all. At this moment, a cold snort slowly sounded. Hearing this, the peak half-saint and the young master Wu Zun, who had been rescued, were stunned. Where did this voice come from? They had checked the area and found that there was no one within a radius of 1,000 miles. When did this guy appear? There are a few people here who are about to die. We should be able to get some information from them. Then, another cold voice sounded. Immediately after, a hand plunged into the storm caused by the Dark Moon demon wolf's evolution. Roar! Seeing this, the Dark Moon demon wolf angrily roared. It was at the critical moment of its evolution, and it didn't know where it came from, but it actually wanted to interrupt it? In an instant, numerous wind blades burst out and charged towards the owner of that hand. A smile appeared on the Peak Half-Saint's face when he saw this. He didn't care who the owner of this hand was. As long as it could tie down the Dark Moon Demon Wolf, it was enough. Now, he could bring the young lord away. As for those initial rank and intermediate rank half-saints, they could be used as cannon fodder. In the next moment, the Peak Half-Saint took young Master Wu Zun and fled. "Did I allow you to leave?" At this moment, another cold snort sounded. Suddenly, the Peak Half-Step Saint felt as if his entire body was being stared at by an incomparably terrifying existence. His hair stood on end, and his entire body was confined in place. Then, the Peak Half-Step Saint stiffly turned his head away. A figure took a step forward and tore with both hands. The terrifying storm was instantly torn apart. The wind blades that the Dark Moon Demon Wolf bombarded on that person didn't seem to have any effect. Instead, that person took another step forward and tore with both hands again. He directly tore the Dark Moon Demon Wolf into two halves. Blood spurted out wildly, but that person didn't care at all. A layer of true energy shield blocked the blood. At the same time, he released his space bag and put the Dark Moon Demon Wolf's corpse into it. Gulp. The Peak Half-Step Saint couldn't help but swallow a mouthful of saliva. He didn't sense any fluctuation of true energy at all. In other words, the monster in front of him had used only his physical strength to tear apart a terrifying existence like the Dark Moon Demon Wolf. Instantly, the Peak Half-Step Saint didn't dare to move. He was afraid that the ruthless person in front of him would tear him apart as well. "Let me ask you, is this the Southern Devil territory?" At this moment, the ruthless person spoke. His emotionless eyes stared at the Peak Half-Step Saint. Gulp. The Peak Half-Step Saint swallowed a mouthful of saliva again and said in a trembling voice, "Yes. This is the northern part of the Southern Devil territory. I'm the Skydark Demon Sex, whoosh." A sharp ray of light brushed past the Peak Half-Step Saint's neck. The sharp aura in the surroundings directly scraped the Peak Half-Step Saint's neck, causing streaks of blood to appear. The Peak Half-Step Saint was instantly scared out of his wits. "I'm just asking you if this is the Southern Devil territory. Why are you replying to me?" Ruthless said indifferently. Hearing this, the Peak Half-Step Saint instantly understood. This guy was definitely a Saint Realm demonic cultivator who had escaped to the Southern Devil territory from who knows where. This kind of person was most likely a desperado who didn't care about anything. He was a complete madman. "Then, tell me, who are you and what are you doing?" Ruthless said. Hearing this, the Peak Half-Step Saint heaved a sigh of relief. "I'm the Peak Half-Step Saint of the Skydark Demon Sect. I'm also the Grand Elder, Li Mingtang. I was hunting this Dark Moon demonic wolf that was about to evolve into a Saint Realm. It almost evolved into a Saint Realm." How, the Peak Half-Step Saint was just about to express his gratitude when the wound on his neck stung. Instantly, he shut up. He didn't want to lose his head because of one more sentence. "Okay." Ruthless nodded and waved his hand. A figure in a loose black robe with a face covered by a black veil appeared. It was impossible to tell whether the figure was male or female. Li Mingtang's eyes widened immediately. A living person? A space bag shouldn't be able to contain a person. It was dead silent inside. Even a blade of grass would die if it was put inside, let alone a living person. "Yuan Xian, check if he's right," Ruthless said. Vicious said. Hearing this, the person named Yuan Xian nodded. Li Mingtang instantly felt two sharp gazes sweeping back and forth on his body. "Master, the Skydark Demon Sect does exist in the Southern Devil territory. However, they're not strong. It doesn't matter if he's strong or not. It's good that he's not strong." Then, he looked at Li Mingtang and said, "You've been in the Southern Devil Kingdom for so many years. You should know why I know about your sect, right?" Hearing this, Li Mingtang felt like crying. How could he not know? This kind of demon cultivator who was like a fugitive came to the southern devil territory and encountered a force. It was very likely that he would occupy that force. I hope this ruthless isn't too strong. Master, you must hold on. Then, Li Mingtang looked at the dark moon demonic wolf not far away. The blood hadn't dried yet. He could only nod. Li Mingtang knows. But before that, may I know your name? Li Mingtang asked. Hearing this, Ruthless chuckled and raised his head, revealing his eyes that seemed to be burning with flames. Chapter 13:21. Tianyang had his own considerations for changing his name to Su Tianshao. After all, even if the Xianyuan family did not pursue him, they would have announced his name to the world. Tianyang had wiped out the entire Xianyuan family, except for Xianyuan Kongming and old ancestor Xianyuan. How could Xianyuan Kongming not hate Tianyang? Now that old ancestor Xianyuan was there, Xianyuan Kongming was not afraid at all. It was possible for him to directly issue a wanted order for the whole world. Moreover, it was very likely that he would dig out the name Yang Tian. Therefore, Tianyang simply gave himself the name Su Tianshao, which he made up in the demon star. At the same time, he also used the powerful strength of the physical sanctification body to make slight adjustments to his appearance. His facial features became more mature, and at the same time, he changed a little. He was no longer so handsome, and the overall feeling was more vicissitude. His height was adjusted from about 1.8 meters to 2 meters. He was tall and burly, and his face was older than a young man, but not middle-aged. Overall, he looked like a completely different person from Tianyang. Yun Xianyuan also changed her name to Yuan Xian, and her face was adjusted to the appearance of an ordinary delicate girl. However, in other aspects, Yun Xianyuan did not have a physical sanctification body, nor did she cultivate any related martial techniques, so she could not change her appearance. Therefore, she always wore a loose black robe and a black veil. In any case, there were too many people like this in the southern Devil Land, and they were completely inconspicuous. In fact, Tianyang's caution was useful. After Tianyang escaped, Xianyuan Kongming immediately issued a wanted order for the whole world. Tianyang and Yun Xianyuan were both on it, and there was even a vague projection of the vast expanse Holy Spirit. The reward was ridiculously high. If one could kill Tianyang, he could choose a martial technique or a sacred weapon from the Xianyuan family's treasure vault. If one found Tianyang's trace and reported it, he could get one of the designated martial techniques below the peak of the sacred martial arts. If one killed Yun Xianyuan, he could get one of the sacred weapons. He discovered that Yun Xianyuan could also choose one of the designated martial techniques under the peak sacred artifact. Xianyuan Qingmeng and Tian Hao were also wanted. If he could kill both Tianyang and Yun Xianyuan, not only would the rewards be doubled, he could even become a guest elder of the Xianyuan family. Even a great sage would not be able to resist the temptation of such a thing. The current Tianyang only had the combat strength of an ordinary high-level saint. If a great saint were to make a move, he would have to retreat. Su Tianshao? Hearing that, Li Mingtang was struck dumb for a second, but wasn't very surprised. According to his deduction, this Su Tianshao was definitely a fake name. The way she addressed her servant, Yuan Xian, was most likely a lie. No wonder Su Tianshao placed the black-robed man in his spatial bag. It turned out that he was a servant. However, to the people of the southern Devil Sea, a fake name was not important. They only needed a name. Then, Lord Su, are you going to, at this moment, Li Mingtang said with trepidation. To be able to escape the pursuit of a sect and come to the southern devil's ghost's domain alone, or rather, two people, all of them were extremely terrifying lunatics. Li Mingtang was really afraid that Tianyang would kill him if he was in a bad mood. On the side, the peak young master Wu Zun's expression did not change at all. He looked up and down at Tianyang with curious eyes. Where is the heavenly underworld demon sect? Take me there, Tianyang said arrogantly, changing his previous image. Hearing that, Li Mingtang immediately complained in his heart. He really touched a sore spot. If he took this guy back, the heavenly underworld demon sect would be occupied. At that time, he would not have a good ending. If he didn't take him back, he was afraid that he would be killed by Tianyang now. Even if Su Tianshao failed and was killed by the sect master of the heavenly underworld demon sect, Li Mingtang's fate would be the same. This was simply a question of death. However, Li Mingtang, as well as everyone else on the scene, had no choice at all. He could only sigh and say, "We have been chasing this dark moon demonic wolf for more than half a month. Now we are very far away from the heavenly underworld demon sect. If we go all out, it will take a lot of time." However, Li Mingtang's first two sentences were met with indifferent eyes by Tianyang. Li Mingtang immediately shut up. He was only more than 8,000 years old and was still at his peak. He was not willing to lose his life because of nonsense. The heavenly underworld demon sect is in the northeast, about 8 million miles away from here. Li Mingtang lowered his head and said. Hearing that, Tianyang nodded. 8 million miles, that wasn't too far. One of the important reasons why Yun Xianyuan ran 10 million miles for 3 days and 3 nights was that she went back and forth countless times just to avoid possible pursuit. Moreover, she was carrying Tianyang and Ling Yuhan at that time. The speed of the mysterious beauty in body could not burst out at all. Now, although Tianyang's combat strength was far from his peak, his speed was not much slower than that of his peak. In just a few hours they had arrived at 8 million miles. Then, where is the dark moon demonic wolf? Where is my dark moon demonic wolf? A cold light, accompanied by a dissatisfied shout, came straight at Tianyang. Li Mingtang's expression changed greatly, but Tianyang was very calm. He reached out his hand and easily caught the cold light. It was a small hidden weapon about 3 inches long. At this time, the owner of the dissatisfied shout was stunned. The next moment, he stepped out. Yellow sand splashed all over the sky. Where did you come from? You can actually take my Sun Xiaochuan's concealed weapon? Following that, an extremely fat and bald man walked out. Seeing that, Tianyang raised his eyebrows slightly. Generally speaking, there were very few cultivators who were ugly. The worst ones were burly. After all, with so much spiritual qi of heaven and earth, it was difficult for them to be ugly. However, this man was the first ugly person that Tianyang had seen since his rebirth. I, Brother Sun, will give you face. Kneel down and worship Brother Sun as your teacher. From now on, you will have someone to protect you in the southern demon sea. How about it? The fat man, Sun Xiaochuan, laughed. Hearing that, Tianyang's expression did not change. He crossed his fingers, and the hidden weapon turned into flying ashes. However, Tianyang noticed that there seemed to be poison in the hidden weapon. If it were another person, he would have been poisoned to death. Seeing that, Sun Xiaochuan's expression changed. His squinted eyes, which were squeezed by his fat, suddenly revealed fierce light. What do you mean? How dare you not give face to me, Sun Xiaochuan? Besides, where is the dark moon demonic wolf that I have been eyeing for 3 days? Did you catch this guy? Sun Xiaochuan's tone was commanding as he angrily asked Tianyang. Hearing that, Li Mingtang seemed to have thought of something. His expression changed greatly, and he hurriedly said, Lord Su, this Sun Xiaochuan is not to be trifled with. Li Mingtang was afraid that Tianyang would lose his temper and directly kill Sun Xiaochuan. This Sun Xiaochuan is the disciple of the ancestor of the Crazy Beast Pavilion, one of the top forces in the northern cities of the southern demon sea. Even the lord of the heavenly underworld demon sect does not dare to provoke the Crazy Beast Pavilion. Lord Su, please don't let your emotions affect your decisions, Li Mingtang said. Although he said that, he was also dissatisfied in his heart. They had been hunting the dark moon demonic wolf for half a month. Sun Xiaochuan clearly came across it and wanted to take it for himself. That was why he came up with an excuse. After all, Sun Xiaochuan was the disciple of the ancestor of the Crazy Beast Pavilion. He was the existence that could do whatever he wanted in the northern part of the southern Demon Sea. The Crazy Beast Pavilion? Hearing that, Tianyang's mouth curved into a slight smile. That's good. Hearing that, Li Mingtang breathed a sigh of relief. At this moment, Tianyang snapped his fingers. A flame suddenly appeared on Sun Xiaochuan's body. In the next moment, Sun Xiaochuan's whole body, together with his fat, was burned to ashes by the true flame of destruction. Chapter 1322. Even though Tianyang was seriously injured, the power of the true flames of destruction did not weaken much. On the contrary, because Tianyang's true essence had broken through to the intermediate level of the Saint Realm, the power of the true flames of destruction that Tianyang could unleash was much stronger than before. Sun Xiaochuan was only an intermediate-level half-saint. How could he resist Tianyang's true flames of destruction? Seeing this, Li Mingtang's teeth began to chatter. Madman, this guy was definitely a madman. Everyone in the Southern Devil's northern region had heard of the Mad Beast Pavilion. With the way of taming beasts as its foundation, it had created many powerful figures who dominated the entire Southern Devil's northern region. Even though it was not as terrifying as it was at its peak, it was still tyrannical. Moreover, its ancestor was a great saint at the peak of the human grade. Su Tianxiao actually burned Sun Xiaochuan, a great saint's disciple, to death. If he was not a madman, then he must be extremely powerful. Although Tianyang had disguised himself, the strength he showed was only in the saint realm. Li Mingtang would only think that it was the latter if his brain was damaged. However, Tianyang did not care at all. He had met too many people like this. He did not even bother to listen to Sun Xiaochuan's arrogant self-introduction before killing him. After all, this was the Southern Demon Ghost domain, and this Sun Xiaochuan was indeed planning to kill him. In that case, according to Su Tianxiao's character, he should have killed him directly. What is this? At this time, Tianyang said, "Why aren't you taking me to the heavenly underworld demon sect?" Yes. Hearing this, Li Mingtang could only nod with a pale face. Then, he left with Tianyang, Yun Xianyuan, and the people of the heavenly underworld demon sect who had been saved by Tianyang. As for Sun Xiaochuan, he could only hope that the Mad Beast Pavilion would not find out about it so soon. The young master, who was at the peak Wu Zun realm, looked curiously at the unruly Tianyang with a deep look in his eyes. To be able to become the Devil Sect's young master, even if it was just a pleasant-sounding name, was definitely not simple. This Su Tianxiao. Where does his confidence come from? The young master of the heavenly underworld demon sect muttered to himself. Otherwise, he wouldn't have the guts to investigate Tianyang's secret. Southern Devil region, Northern region. In fact, although the heavenly underworld demon sect wasn't very strong, it was still an extremely powerful force in the northern part of the Southern Ghost region, which wasn't very prosperous. After all, not every place was like the divine central continent and the spiritual state. The heavenly Nether Devil sect wasn't just a saint sect, it was even a saint sect that possessed a high-level saint realm expert. If it wasn't necessary, even a force with a sage wouldn't be willing to provoke the heavenly underworld devil sect. The heavenly underworld demon sect was located at the top of the mountain range. The mountain range that stretched for thousands of miles was the territory of the heavenly underworld demon sect. Tianyang and his group relied on Li Mingtang to directly step into the main peak of the mountain range, which was the core of the heavenly underworld demon sect. Young Master is back? The grand return of Tianyang and his group naturally surprised some people on the main peak of the heavenly underworld demon sect. However, there were also some malicious gazes that glanced at Li Mingtang and his group. Seeing this, Tianyang was a little speechless. The Southern Ghost Region was indeed the Southern Ghost Region. Even if they belonged to the same sect, they could still display their hostility and even killing intent in such a blatant manner. It was hard to imagine what would happen when it came to the competition for the position of the sect master. However, Tianyang didn't care. He only had one purpose in coming to the heavenly underworld demon sect: to ask for directions. Although Yun Xianyuan knew some things about the Southern Ghost Region, she hadn't been here before. The Xianyuan family didn't pay much attention to the Southern Ghost Region either. After all, it was easy to plant spies here. However, they might be killed and robbed in 2 days. Over time, the Xianyuan family stopped caring about the Southern Ghost Region. After all, the Southern Ghost Region and the Xianyuan family didn't have any dispute. However, this made Yun Xianyuan uncomfortable. She only knew a piece of information and a place name. She didn't know where it was. Xiao Hu, you're finally back. At this moment, a tall and mighty middle-aged man walked out of the dark palace. He smiled when he saw the unscathed young master of the heavenly underworld demon sect. The young master of the heavenly underworld demon sect nodded and said something to the middle-aged man. Hearing this, the middle-aged man was stunned. Then, he looked at Tianyang and Yun Xianyuan. Yun Xuanyuan's aura couldn't be hidden from the middle-aged man. However, it was strange for Tianyang. No matter how he probed, Tianyang seemed to have a leakless golden body. He didn't leak any aura at all. He couldn't find anything even when he used the power of primordial spirit. Your sect master is using the power of primordial spirit to check on your guests? At this moment, Tianyang chuckled. He didn't give the middle-aged man any face at all. Hearing this, the middle-aged man's face froze. Then, he smiled. It's just a habit. I'm excited to see an expert. How should I address you, sir? The middle-aged man smiled. Hearing this, Tianyang smiled contemptuously. Did he really think that his ears were for decoration? Su Tianxiao. There was nothing wrong with his words. However, his expression immediately angered an elder. What's with your attitude? The next moment, a brawny man with double axes rushed out. He looked at Tianyang with an unfriendly gaze and said coldly, "Is this how you speak to our sect master?" The brawny man with double axes said angrily. In an instant, the genuine core strength of a peak half-saint erupted. His aura was only a little bit weaker than Li Mingtong's. However, Tianyang's arrogant and contemptuous smile didn't change at all. Yun Xianyuan spoke. "Is this how you speak to my master?" Hearing this, the brawny man with double axes was stunned. Then, his face became gloomy. "You sneaky bitch. Are you qualified to speak here?" The next moment, the power of thunder erupted from the double axes. 2 huge axes the size of doors slammed toward Yun Xianyuan. Yun Xianyuan snorted disdainfully. Tianyang was seriously injured, but she wasn't. A trace of mysterious Yin power condensed in her palm. Then, Yun Xianyuan directly slapped out. Boom! Those bolts of lightning were no different from paper as they were directly blasted away. As for the 2 battle axes, cracks appeared on them as a result of the palm strike. As for the brawny man himself, he was directly sent flying by this palm. After doing all this, Yun Xianyuan slowly withdrew her hand. Her arrogant voice sounded. Chapter 13:23. Young Master Su, do you think you can speak like that? Yun Xianyuan said arrogantly as she looked down at the people from the heaven underworld demon sect. Although her face was covered by a black veil and her expression couldn't be seen clearly, her words that were filled with mockery instantly infuriated everyone. "What did you say, little girl?" "Sect leader, let me deal with these 2 who don't know their place." Before that person could finish speaking, Tianyang's calm gaze landed on him. Looking at Tianyang's eyes, which were as deep as an ancient well, the person was stunned and swallowed the words he wanted to say. Silence. At this moment, the middle-aged man let out a cold snort and suppressed everyone present. Then, He smiled kindly and said to Tianyang, "Young Master Su Tianxiao, is it? I didn't discipline my subordinates well. Please forgive me, young Master Su." As the sect master of the Devil Sect, and the sect master of the Devil Sect of the Southern Devil Ghost region, the middle-aged man would not act on impulse like the previous person. Moreover, the strength that Yun Xianyuan displayed when she attacked previously also surprised the middle-aged man. Although her strength wasn't strong, her attack was clean and precise. Her ability to control her strength was not something an ordinary person could have. That was because the muscular man who had been blasted away, although he had been blasted several hundred meters away, aside from the impact when he landed, there wasn't a single injury on his body. Even the middle-aged man himself might not be able to do that. Therefore, he paid more attention to Yun Xianyuan. "It's fine." Tianyang chuckled. "Sect leader, you have to discipline her. My maid has a very bad temper." Although Tianyang didn't intend to fight with the Heaven Underworld Demon Sect, his tone was extremely arrogant. Hearing this, a few other half-saints wanted to flare up. However, due to the middle-aged man's dignity as a sect leader and the appearance of the burly man who was at the peak of the half-saint realm, they all shut their mouths. The middle-aged man was stunned. He didn't expect Tianyang to be so disrespectful. However, he quickly regained his composure. "I'm Li Qingfeng. May I know why young Master Su is here?" As Li Qingfeng spoke, he racked his brain and searched for any family related to Su. Su Tianxiao was so arrogant in front of him, a high-level saint. He either had strength, a background, or was simply brainless. According to Li Mingtong's report, Su Tianxiao could tear apart the Dark Moon demonic wolf that was about to evolve into a saint. So, there were only two possibilities, and Li Qingfeng couldn't afford to offend the first two. Su clan. There isn't a big family with the surname Su in the Southern Devil region. Could it be that he's an elder of some big power with the surname Su? Li Qingfeng's brows furrowed slightly. He really couldn't think of a Southern Devil with the surname Su. In the end, he could only give up. Since the maid did not deal much damage, Li Qingfeng could be forgiven. To be able to tear apart the Dark Moon demonic wolf, his strength was probably not much weaker than his own. If Tianyang didn't have the battle record of tearing apart the Dark Moon demon wolf, Li Qingfeng would have already killed Tianyang and Xianyuan Yun. How could the sect leader of the demonic sect tolerate the arrogance of a weakling? "I've heard of your name for a long time. Of course, it's impossible. However, I heard that there's news about the 8th Order Sacred Flame in the Southern Ghost region?" Tianyang asked with a chuckle. Hearing this, Li Qingfeng was stunned. Then, his expression changed slightly. Was this fellow also here for the level 8 spiritual fire? Since the news of the 8th Order spiritual flame was leaked 3 years ago, there had been a steady stream of people entering the northern region of the Southern Ghost region for the 8th Order spiritual flame. Now, it seemed that Su Tianxiao's purpose was the same. "I'm sorry about the 8th Order spiritual flame. The heavenly underworld demonic sect is too small to touch it." Li Qingfeng smiled bitterly. He wasn't lying. A level 8 spiritual fire wasn't something a high-level sage expert like Li Qingfeng could get his hands on. It was reserved for the human-grade great saints and even the spiritual-grade great saints. The 8th Order sacred flame was still in the saint realm. It had the greatest effect on the saint realm, but it was also of great help to the human-grade and spiritual-grade great saint. Therefore, the 8th Order sacred flame wasn't something that belonged to the saint realm. Li Qingfeng wasn't stupid enough to provoke such a thing. "Is that so?" Tianyang frowned slightly but wasn't too surprised. After all, the 8th Order sacred flame was rare. Even if the news was leaked, not everyone would know about it. Since the heavenly underworld demonic sect didn't know about it, there was no reason for the heavenly underworld demonic sect to stay. However, Father, there seems to be news about the 8th Order sacred flame being auctioned in the Chaos Demon City recently? At that moment, the young master of the peak martial honorable realm, who had been mute all this while, spoke. Hearing this, Li Qingfeng was stunned. Why are you bringing this up when this guy is about to leave? Indeed, when Tianyang heard this, he stopped in his tracks and turned to look at the peak martial honorable young master. As for the young master, he stared back at Tianyang without any fear. In the next moment, Tianyang looked at Li Qingfeng. Li Qingfeng felt like he was being stared at by a terrifying beast when Tianyang stared at him. His expression changed slightly. There is such a thing. I was too busy and didn't think about it, Li Qingfeng said with a smile. Hearing this, Tianyang's lips also curled into a smile. It seemed that the heavenly underworld demon sect was still hiding something. However, Tianyang didn't care. It didn't matter if they were hiding something or not, he would find out eventually. So, what's your name? Tianyang asked. Young Master Wu Zun knew that he was going to leave, but he still asked. Interesting. Li Qingchuan, young Master Wu Zun said, there will be an auction in the Chaos Demon City recently. They want to auction the 8th Order Sacred Flame. I think young Master Su will be interested, Li Qingchuan said. Hearing this, Tianyang nodded slightly. Then, what do you want? If young Master Su wants to go to the Chaos Demon City, please take me with you, Li Qingchuan said. Tianyang's expression didn't change. Why? I know where the Chaos Demon City is. Moreover, your heavenly underworld demon sect has nothing to do with me. If you insist on it, you still owe me a life-saving favor. Li Qingchuan immediately understood that Tianyang wasn't rejecting him. He just wanted to know the value of bringing him along. Not only am I familiar with the Chaos Demon City, but I also know the location of a secret treasure near the Chaos Demon City. Is that okay? Li Qingchuan asked. Li Qingfeng was still puzzled. Okay. Anyway, there are only so many things in the Southern Devil and Northern region. It doesn't matter if there is one more burden or one less. Sect Masterly, what do you think? Tianyang smiled contemptuously and agreed to Li Qingchuan's request. Then, he looked at Li Qingfeng. Li Qingfeng, on the other hand, was stunned for a moment before revealing a bitter smile. He didn't know what Li Qingchuan was thinking, so he could only agree. Chapter 1324. Chaos Demon City, Crazed Beast Pavilion. Previously, Li Mingtang had mentioned that the Crazed Beast Pavilion dominated the northern city. This was Chaos Demon City. His soul lamp went out? Xiaochuan's soul lamp went out in just 4 or 5 days? In the Crazed Beast Pavilion, an old man stared at the soul lamp in front of him in disbelief. Soul lamps were treasured weapons formed by a person's soul power. They were similar to the Xianyuan family's spirit lamp. If one lived, the lamp would be lit. If one died, the lamp would be extinguished. Ever since Sun Xiaochuan was chosen by the Crazed Beast Pavilion's ancestor and became his only direct disciple, he had never seen his soul lamp weak, let alone extinguish it. Now, how many days had it been since he left Chaos Demon City to find a new beast? His soul lamp went out. He was dead. A mouthful of withered, yellow, and broken teeth clenched tightly. The old man's face was extremely ugly. Xiaochuan, this is the first time you went out alone to hunt for a beast. You were actually killed. Even if you don't give face to the monk, you still have to give face to the Crazed Beast Pavilion in the northern part of the Southern Devil region? The old man's teeth chattered. With his back to the crowd, he let out a burst of angry roars. Go investigate. Find out which bastard dared to make a move on Xiaochuan. Yes. Immediately, the group of Wu Zun and half-saints below knelt on one knee and answered loudly. The Crazed Beast Pavilion's power in the Southern Devil region was no less than the Medicine God sect's power in the Eastern Sky Divine region. In the northern part of the Southern Devil region, the Crazed Beast Pavilion was equivalent to the Xianyuan family in the Xiantian Great World. They were the rulers of the northern part of the Southern Devil region. Big brother, he's just a disciple. His talent isn't particularly strong. At most, he has some beast-taming talent. Why do you have to do this? At this moment, an old man with white eyebrows who looked similar to the old man walked out from the shadows. You don't understand. The old man growled. Xiaochuan, he. Forget it. However, I agree with you on one point, another person said faintly. Murderous intent burst out from his eyes. How dare he go against the crazed beast pavilion? He must die. In the next moment, the old man flicked his sleeve and left. These two people were the top experts in Chaos Demon City, the two ancestors of the crazy beast pavilion. They were the infamous lion and tiger saints. At this moment, Tianyang stayed in the heavenly underworld demon sect for a short while. After learning more about the southern ghost realm, he embarked on the journey to the Chaos Demon City. There were a total of 5 realms in the southern devil region: East, West, North, South, and Central region. Among them, the East region was the strongest, the Central region was the weakest, and the North region was on par with the Central region. It wasn't weak, but it wasn't strong either. Otherwise, the two saints of the Mad Beast Pavilion wouldn't be qualified to dominate a part of the 5 great provinces of the profound Sky Great World. Young Master Su, why do you want an 8th Order Holy Flame so badly? Tianyang, Yun Xianyuan, and Li Qingchuan were on their way to Chaos Demon City. Li Qingchuan suddenly spoke. Tianyang didn't reply, but Li Qingchuan seemed to be talking to himself. Judging from young Master Su's appearance, he shouldn't be old. He should be a good genius to be able to reach the Saint Realm. But young Master Su released the power of his primordial spirit to inquire for information. This doesn't seem like an aristocratic family's disciple who completely disdains the heavenly underworld demon sect. But young Master Su's disdain and contempt for the heavenly underworld demon sect doesn't seem to be fake. Does this mean that young Master Su is actually going to understand the southern ghost realm? Li Qingchuan smiled. Hearing this, Tianyang's expression didn't change, but his heart was slightly moved. In other words, young Master Su isn't actually a disciple of a great force in the southern devil region. He must be from the outer realms? There must be a great reason for him to come all the way to the southern devil region from the outer realms. Perhaps this reason is a life and death crisis? Li Qingchuan said. Hearing this, Tianyang's face was indifferent, but he was a little surprised. This kid could actually guess so much with just a little information. It seemed that the people of the southern devil region were all shrewd. It wasn't a lie. Or perhaps, if you say another word of nonsense, I'll break your neck. With Li Qingfeng's strength, he doesn't have the ability to cause trouble for me, Tianyang said indifferently. Hearing this, Li Qingchuan immediately shrunk his neck and shut up. He had been intelligent since he was a child, and he also had a physique that was extremely sensitive to the power of his primordial spirit. However, because of this, he wasn't very strong in martial arts. Originally, he wanted to show off in front of Tianyang, but in the end, Tianyang wanted to kill him as soon as he opened his mouth, so he was directly speechless. That city is the Chaos Demon City, right? Tianyang suddenly said. Hearing this, Li Qingchuan was stunned and said without hesitation, the Chaos Demon City is at least 3 or 4 days away from the heavenly underworld mountain. Even if we rush at full speed, it will take 2 or 3 days. We only set off for 10 hours. How can it be so easy? When he looked up, he was instantly dumbfounded. A black city, like a giant beast, was sitting between the heavens and the earth. The scale had completely destroyed the entire heavenly underworld demon sect. In the center of the Chaos Demon City, Li Qingchuan recognized the towering tower. Black Demon Tower. Is this really the Chaos Demon City? It's fine as long as it is, Tianyang said. The next moment, his figure flashed, and he arrived in the Chaos Demon City. Is Master's speed something you can imagine? Yun Xianyuan sneered. He was also very unhappy with this guy who forced himself to follow them. Although he didn't know why Li Qingchuan forced himself to follow them, it was definitely not a good thing. How can a stage expert be so fast? Even if my father goes all out, it will take 16 to 18 hours. And you're bringing me? Li Qingchuan hurriedly refuted. The next moment, looking at the city getting closer and closer in front of him, Li Qingchuan panicked. Wait a minute, flying is not allowed in the Chaos Demon City. Boom! In the next moment, Tianyang blasted a big hole in the forbidden space array and flew in openly. He was now the arrogant and insufferably arrogant young Master Su Tianxiao. How could he obediently listen to the rules of the Chaos Demon City? Moreover, the strongest in the Chaos Demon City were the two sages. Why would he follow the rules? In the martial Dao world, the fist was the biggest. This southern demon sea would only magnify this law to the limit. In an instant, Tianyang arrived in the Chaos Demon City. The soldiers guarding the city only heard the loud sound of the forbidden space array being broken. They didn't see Tianyang and the other two rushing in at all. Okay, now tell me about the auction. At this moment Tianyang spoke. Hearing this, Li Qingchuan was taken aback. There are still 3 to 5 days before the auction. We should find a place to stay first. The heavenly underworld demon sect has a stronghold in the Chaos Demon City. Stay? Hearing this, Tianyang snorted coldly. Who told you that I'm going to participate in the auction? Chapter 13:25. Kill our way up? Li Qingchuan was stunned. In the next moment, a terrifying killing intent was released from Tianyang's body. This murderous intent wasn't targeted at anyone. Furthermore, it had been restrained by heavenly sun around him. However, Li Qingchuan could clearly feel it because they were very close. It was a terrifying killing intent that seemed to want to tear all living things to shreds. Li Qingchuan was shocked. Just what kind of blood feud could cause such a murderous intent to be condensed? Even so, Li Qingchuan could only smile bitterly and shake his head. Although young Master Su is powerful, he is still far from the force that received the information. Even if the force behind young Master Su is very strong, it is impossible to deal with that force. Did I ask you to say so much nonsense? Tianyang said coldly. You only have 2 choices. Tell me your name or die. Tianyang would not show any mercy to Li Qingchuan just because they knew each other. Now, in the entire mysterious sky great world, anyone who stood in the way of Tianyang saving Ling Yuhan was a person he had to kill. Just as Tianyang finished speaking, a terrifying wave of killing intent viciously hit Li Qingchuan's body. Li Qingchuan's expression also changed. Even though the power of his Yuan spirit was different from that of an ordinary person, it was as if he was just a leaf in a tsunami in front of Tianyang's terrifying killing intent. He could be overturned and destroyed by the raging winds and waves. Wild Beast Pavilion. Li Qingchuan had no choice but to speak. Tianyang was stunned when he heard this. Wild Beast Pavilion? Wasn't that the force that Sun Xiaochuan, whom he had just killed, belonged to? Interesting. Tianyang's lips curled into a smile. If that was the case, there was no need to worry too much about robbing. Although there was no need for any reason to kill in the southern devil region, Tianyang still had a bottom line. Where did the 3 of you come from? At that moment, an unruly voice was heard. Tianyang's expression did not change as he turned his head indifferently. The killing intent in his body was perfectly concealed. The 3 of you are sneaking around the entrance of my crazy beast pavilion. Speak, what are you up to? A 6th stage Wu Zun with a spear in his hand coldly shouted. Upon hearing this, Tianyang was startled. So the place he landed without even thinking was this mad beast pavilion? However, Tianyang completely ignored this person, and Li Qingchuan and Yun Xianyuan naturally wouldn't open their mouths to respond to a mere 6th-level cultivator like Wu Zun. As such, no one cared about the rank 6 martial honorable realm's cold roar. How dare you ignore me? Wu Zun's expression instantly turned ugly. Although Wu Zun was in the 6th stage of the inner realm and was not considered a powerhouse in the Chaos Demon City, he was still a guard of the Crazy Beast Pavilion. Which of the countless peak-level Wu Zun he had met wasn't polite? Not to mention, this was the entrance of the Crazy Beast Pavilion. He actually dared to ignore him in his own territory? Their actions are suspicious and sneaky. I'm afraid they want to rebel. At that moment, the 6th stage Wu Zun roared, "Brothers! Enemies!" In the next moment, several 6th stage Wu Zun and a 7th stage Wu Zun suddenly appeared at the entrance of the Crazy Beast Pavilion. Each of them held a spear in their hands and had an aggressive aura. Their eyes were filled with undisguised greed. "Old Third, which fat sheep are we going to slaughter this time? Oh, there are actually 3 this time? Maybe we can split the loot and have some fun in the Ling Long Pavilion. Old Third, should we take them down now or do we have them charged with a crime?" Several Wu Zun laughed and joked. They had used this method of forcefully assigning a crime and then using the Crazy Beast Pavilion's power to pressure passers-by to pay for their lives. They had used this method countless times. When they heard Old Third's call, they naturally flew over immediately. Charge them with a crime. It's just a sentence anyway. The first 6th stage Wu Zun sneered. These 3 are suspicious. They are discussing in a low voice at the entrance of the Crazy Beast Pavilion. We suspect that they are bandits who want to destroy the dignity of the Crazy Beast Pavilion. Therefore, the Crazy Beast Pavilion's guards subdue them. Okay. In an instant, everyone shouted and charged toward Tianyang's group with spears in their hands. It wasn't that there were no passers-by on the side. However, when they saw the Crazy Beast Pavilion's guards, who would dare to stay? The Crazy Beast Pavilion's guards had been tyrannical and extorting people for a long time. With the Crazy Beast Pavilion's power, who would dare to go against them? When they saw Tianyang's group being attacked without saying a word, the crowd could only sigh in pity. Of course, there were also many who rejoiced in their misfortune. These 3 are so cheap. Why did they have to say it at the entrance of the Crazy Beast Pavilion? This is great. When the Crazy Beast Pavilion's guards are done robbing, it will be our turn. In the next moment, spear lights shot toward Tianyang in unison. How dare you ignore me? Now that I've dealt with you, what else do you dare to say? The first 6th stage Wu Zun sneered. This time, I'll teach you a lesson. This Southern Devil Ghost Horde has the biggest fist. In the future, don't pretend to be weak in front of the strong. In an instant, spear lights bloomed and closed in on Tianyang's group. Li Qingchuan's face turned pale the moment the Crazy Beast Pavilion's guards appeared. He had only killed Sun Xiaochuan because Sun Xiaochuan was surrounded by his own people. This was the entrance of the Crazy Beast Pavilion. Even if Tianyang had the strength to kill these Wu Zun and infuriate the Crazy Beast Pavilion, they would still die in the end. You're right. The Southern Devil Ghost Horde has the biggest fist. At this moment, Tianyang smiled and lightly stepped on the ground with his right foot. In an instant, a seismic wave visible to the naked eye rushed towards the few people who were rushing over. In the next moment, the faces of those people instantly became distorted. The spear lights also dissipated at this moment, and then a few of them were blasted apart by the seismic waves generated by Tianyang's stomp. Flesh and blood splattered everywhere and fell to the ground, making patter sounds. Tianyang looked indifferent as he walked toward the Crazy Beast Pavilion. Hey! You guards, get ready! The Ancestor has issued a mission to find the person who killed the Ancestor's direct disciple, Sun Xiaochuan. This is a sensor crystal. As long as you have young Master Xiaochuan's aura, this crystal will glow. No matter who it is, capture him and bring him back to the Crazy Beast Pavilion for interrogation. A seemingly majestic peak Wu Zun stood at the entrance of the Crazy Beast Pavilion and shouted. However, in the next moment, the peak Wu Zun was stunned. The crystal in his hand glowed crazily. Moreover, it was getting hotter and hotter. The peak Wu Zun was startled and looked in front of him. Chapter 1326. What was going on? The manager at the peak of Wu Zun was completely stunned. The first thing that shocked him wasn't the red and hot crystal in his hand. Instead, it was the corpses on the ground. The peak marshal honorable deacon knew every single one of them. After all, they had often plundered the passers-by and paid the peak marshal honorable deacon a lot. But now, those familiar faces, the guards who had brought him countless Reiki treasures, had turned into a pile of flesh and blood on the ground. Who dares to kill the guards of the Crazy Beast Pavilion in front of us? The manager at the peak of Wu Zun roared and looked at Tianyang. His expression instantly turned ferocious. Was it you? The next moment, the manager at the peak of Wu Zun's figure flashed and he charged at Tianyang. Seeing this, Tianyang's expression didn't change. He raised his right hand. Then, just as the manager at the peak of Wu Zun was about to hit him, he smashed down with force. Boom! The manager at the peak of Wu Zun immediately spat out a mouthful of blood. His spine had been broken. His entire body was powerless as he was smashed into the ground by Tianyang. However, the vitality of the peak of Wu Zun was still extremely tenacious. Even though his spine had been broken, the manager at the peak of Wu Zun didn't die. Instead, he roared, "Sun Xiaochuan's murderer is here." The entire Crazy Beast Pavilion was alarmed. For the sake of this personal disciple of the ancestor, the entire Crazy Beast Pavilion had been called over by the ancestor to give them a good scolding. In their hearts, they were filled with endless resentment towards Tianyang who had killed Sun Xiaochuan. Now that this sudden roar had appeared, regardless of whether it was true or not, they could finally vent their anger. In an instant, dozens of peak Wu Zun, beginner-level half-saint, and intermediate-level half-saint rushed out of the Crazy Beast Pavilion. Beast, devouring demon. Beast, 10,000 miles black tortoise. Come out. Dark moon demon wolf. In the blink of an eye, dozens of experts, dozens of magical beasts of all shapes and sizes, charged out. Looking at Tianyang, he was full of confidence. No matter who this guy was, they would use his blood to wash away their suffocation. Seeing this, Tianyang's lips curled into a strange arc. 13 peak stage Wu Zun, 7 beginner-level half-saints, 3 middle-level half-saints, and magic beasts of similar strength. Is this the confidence of the Mad Beast Pavilion? In the next moment, Tianyang raised his hand and a flame burned fiercely in his hand. Then, his palm faced the ground and a loud bang erupted. Boom! In an instant, the dozens of Mad Beast Pavilion experts and their magical beasts were all set ablaze by the true flames of destruction. Tianyang, on the other hand, was calm and composed. He took Yun Xianyuan and walked past the people of the Crazed Beast Pavilion, who were struggling against the true flames of destruction, and stepped into the Crazed Beast Pavilion. A bunch of trash. Recalling Su Tianxiao's character, Tianyang curled the corner of his mouth and mocked. At this time, Li Qingchuan was completely dumbfounded. To a Saint Realm expert, these peak-stage Wu Zun and half-saints were nothing more than food. However, they were all experts who had mastered the way of beast taming. These people and magic beasts added up to almost 50 people. Even if Li Qingfeng were here, he would not be able to kill them all in one move. However, Tianyang had done it. However, this was not what shocked him the most. Tianyang was at the entrance of the Crazed Beast Pavilion, and he had instantly killed the disciples, attendants, and guards of the Crazed Beast Pavilion. Who dares to cause trouble in my Crazed Beast Pavilion? Just as Tianyang stepped into the Crazed Beast Pavilion, a thunderous voice resounded from all directions. Then, a middle-aged man with flames burning all over his body walked out of the Crazed Beast Pavilion. He looked like a flaming demon god. The aura on his body was Saint Realm, and he was a middle-level Saint Realm expert. It's actually a saint. The middle-aged man was surprised. However, in the next moment, his face sank when he saw the miserable scene outside the door. Although Tianyang had casually released the true flames of destruction, it was not enough to burn so many people alive. Even the peak stage attendant Wu Zun, whose spine was broken, did not suffer any fatal injuries. However, those beasts were definitely not safe. Even if those people survived, they would be seriously injured. It was unknown whether they could take another step forward in the future. Of course, as the vice pavilion master of the Crazed Beast Pavilion, the middle-aged man did not care about the group of half-saints Wu Zun. He cared about the reputation of the Crazed Beast Pavilion. In front of the Crazed Beast Pavilion, the pavilion master and patriarch were present. However, a guy who came out of nowhere had defeated dozens of people and beasts of the Crazed Beast Pavilion. If he couldn't kill Heavenly Sun here, then the Mad Beast Pavilion's reputation would be swept to the ground. Even a saint can't casually invade my Crazed Beast Pavilion. Since you want to die so much, then go to hell. The Vice Pavilion Master of the Crazed Beast Pavilion coldly snorted. In the next moment, he waved his hand, and a flame instantly appeared beside him. To be precise, it was not a flame, but a fire spirit. It was the same type of existence as the fire spirit Tianyang had encountered in the ancestral dragon godland. However, this fire spirit was obviously much stronger than the one in the ancestral dragon godland. Kill them! The vice pavilion master of the Crazed Beast Pavilion angrily shouted. In the next moment, the fire spirit suddenly burst out with a roar and charged toward Tianyang. Wherever it passed, even space was burned and distorted by the fire spirit. Coupled with the distortion of the air, it was as if the interior of the Crazed Beast Pavilion had been completely thrown into chaos. The fire spirit waved its fist, and the power of the sacred path of flames erupted. It turned into a terrifying fist and ruthlessly blasted toward Tianyang. The fire spirit gathered the essence of flames between heaven and earth. It could be said that it was born with the sacred path of flames. Every member of the Crazed Beast Pavilion was an expert in beast taming. This fire spirit was much stronger than the magma fire spirit that Tianyang had encountered, which only knew how to use its instincts. Not bad. Tianyang smiled slightly. Just as he was about to make a move, Yun Xuanyuan's body moved horizontally and appeared in front of Tianyang. There's no need for Master to make a move against such an opponent. In the next moment, the mystical beauty Yin body in Yun Xuanyuan's body activated. Following it, wisps of terrifying mystical Yin force burst out from his body. If the fire spirit relied on its own power of flames to distort space, the mystical beauty Yin body used the mystical Yin power to turn the entire space into a Yin-type purgatory. Boom! In the blink of an eye, the fire spirit was bombarded by the extremely terrifying mystical Yin power and dissipated. In the next moment, Yun Xianyuan attacked again. This time, his target was the middle-aged man. Who dares to make a move against the Vice Pavilion Master? At this moment, a furious roar that sounded like a lion's roar resounded throughout the entire Crazed Beast Pavilion. Following that, a sage's power directly defeated Yun Xuanyuan's attack. In the next moment, two figures appeared in the Crazed Beast Pavilion. They were the two ancestors of the Crazed Beast Pavilion. Chapter 1327. The Lion and Tiger Sages. They were the two true overlords of Chaos Demon City. At the same time, they were the Mad Beast Pavilion's greatest reliance in dominating the Chaos Demon City. Old Ancestor, you're finally here. The Vice Pavilion Master of the Mad Beast Pavilion revealed an incomparably happy expression when he realized that he had not been frozen by that strange power. The Lion and Tiger Sages did not reply. Instead, they stared fixedly at Tianyang. On Tianyang's body, in addition to the few guards of the Mad Beast Pavilion that Tianyang had killed, the dozen or so peak stage Wu Zun that had been crippled, the dozen or so half-sages and demonic beasts, there was another aura. As time passed, the aura had become extremely faint. However, Lion Saint was the first to notice it. It was the aura of his personal disciple, Sun Xiaochuan. In an instant, the lion sage's eyes turned blood-red. He was almost about to rush out and fight Tianyang to the death. On the other side, the tiger sage did not lose his mind like the lion sage. However, his expression was ugly and extremely furious. The guards had been slaughtered, and the disciples and deacons had been hung up and beaten. If they had not intervened, even the vice pavilion master would have been seriously injured. The Mad Beast Pavilion did not open a small world. Instead, they directly opened a headquarters in Chaos Demon City. Moreover, it was located in the central area of Chaos Demon City. Anything that happened in the Mad Beast Pavilion would immediately be known to everyone in Chaos Demon City. Today, the news of Tianyang directly killing the Mad Beast Pavilion had probably already spread to the outside world. It had spread to the entire northern part of the Southern Devil's domain. Regardless of whether the Crazed Beast Pavilion killed the Heavenly Sun realm or not, the Crazed Beast Pavilion had already lost all face. With your strength, you should know that it's impossible for you to defeat the entire Mad Beast Pavilion by yourself. I also don't believe that a few corrupt guards would be able to anger an existence that is at least a high-level Saint Realm expert and directly attack the Mad Beast Pavilion. So, what are you planning? The tiger sage asked with murderous intent in his eyes. Hearing this, Tianyang smiled gently. It's very simple. The Mad Beast Pavilion has information about an 8th Order sacred flame. Lion Saint and Tiger Saint were both stunned. News of an 8th Order sacred flame? This person was at least a high-level sage expert. So, he had attacked the entire Crazy Beast Pavilion without any hesitation just for a piece of information. Is that so? Hearing this, Tiger Sage's expression changed slightly. It seems that you won't be able to achieve this goal. The Tiger Sage's expression gradually darkened. The aura of a pinnacle sage, which was the aura of a sage, erupted from the Lion Sage and Tiger Sage. If Tianyang had only killed a few guards, Tiger Sage might not have been willing to offend someone like the Tianyang and would have settled things peacefully. However, not only did Tianyang kill Sun Xiaochuan, but he also severely injured the disciple of the Crazy Beast Pavilion. Moreover, Tiger Sage also knew that Tianyang was the one who killed Sun Xiaochuan. Then, today Tianyang must die. Boom! The Lion Sage and Tiger Sage attacked together. Terrifying waves of energy erupted, causing ripples to appear in the air. In the next moment, one from the front and one from the back, they attacked like a thunderbolt. Wild Lion Tyrant Mountain Seal. Raging Tiger shocks the heavens. Two angry roars resounded throughout the entire Crazy Beast Pavilion. The true yuan of a pinnacle sage continued to wreak havoc in the Crazy Beast Pavilion. A seal and a palm technique simultaneously attacked Tianyang. Seeing this, the Vice Pavilion Master was so excited that he couldn't control himself. It had been 30 years. It had been 30 years since he had seen the Ancestor attack. Not to mention the Crazy Beast Pavilion, but even in the entire Chaos Demon City, it was rare to see a sage expert attack. Now, the Ancestor that he respected the most had taken action to suppress the trash that dared to challenge the Crazy Beast Pavilion's prestige. How could the Vice Pavilion Master not be excited? As for Tianyang, he sighed as he was attacked by the two of them. Although Tianyang hadn't seen the Xianyuan family's wanted list, it definitely included Tianyang's various methods. The Great Void Sword Embryo, Sky-Devouring Secret Technique, Space-Time Blink, Sky Firmament Sword, and 10,000 Mammoth Annihilation were basically unusable. Otherwise, how could these two sages block the Space-Time Blink Sword technique that could even injure an earthly great sage, Xianyuan Kongming? However, even if Tianyang couldn't use the killing moves that he was familiar with, it wouldn't be difficult for him to deal with two sages. Dragon King's Unrivaled Fist. The Dragon King roared as he circulated his dragon force. The Dragon King's might was unrivaled in this punch, as it fiercely bombarded the Wild Lion Tyrant Mountain Seal. the true yuan of a mid-level sage and the physical strength of a sage perfectly fused into one. This punch directly exploded with the offensive power of a sage. Boom! In addition, Tianyang secretly circulated the undying divine flame and true destructive flames. Under this punch, the lion sage's attack was shattered. What? Seeing this, the tiger sage's expression changed drastically. The lion sage's attack had killed the strongest sage in Chaos Demon City and established the Wild Beast Pavilion's position as the overlord of the chaotic Demon City. How could it be broken by this mid-level sage? At this time, Tianyang used the dragon subduing step, turned around quickly, and punched again. Divine Dragon Emperor Fist. Boom. This time, the Divine Dragon Emperor Fist didn't directly shatter the Tiger Sage's palm. However, it didn't cause any substantial damage to the Tiger Sage's palm either. The two retreated a few feet at the same time and stopped at the same time. The difference was that Tianyang's expression was extremely relaxed, while the Lion Sage and Tiger Sage's expressions were ugly. Damn it! This guy is actually so strong. The Lion Sage's expression was extremely ugly. Then, he exchanged a look with the Tiger Sage and nodded. Then, around Lion Saint, the souls of the Berserk Lions bloomed with divine light. Next to the Tiger Sage, the raging tiger spirit crashed into the Tiger Sage's forehead and became the mark of the Tiger Sage's forehead. Beast Spirit Possession. The Lion Sage and Tiger Sage roared. In the next moment, they exploded with terrifying speed and charged at Tianyang at the same time. Seeing this, Tianyang raised his eyebrows slightly and revealed a trace of surprise. The Lion Sage and Tiger Sage were originally two of the most ordinary great sages. If not for the fact that Tianyang's primordial spirit had been exhausted and hadn't recovered until now, Tianyang would have been able to deal with the Lion Sage and Tiger Sage the same way he dealt with the Snow Sky Fox tribe's Supreme Grand Elder. However, after fusing with the beast spirits, the Lion Sage and Tiger Sage's strength instantly rose to a new level. From ordinary great sages, they directly jumped to the level of Earth Dragon Sage and Sea Dragon Sage. Die! The Lion Sage and Tiger Sage roared at the same time. Their violent aura directly shattered the entire Mad Beast Pavilion. A pair of wild and domineering fists also came at Tianyang viciously. This punch seemed to shatter space, and even Tianyang's head was about to be shattered. What an interesting way of taming beasts! At this moment, Tianyang smiled slightly and his hands instantly formed a seal. Wisps of primordial aura appeared within the seal. It's a pity, weak. The moment the seal was formed, blood covered the sky. Chapter 1328. Weak. With a single word, a terrifying seal condensed from the power of the primordial wilderness blood was instantly formed. Moreover, two seals were formed at once. They blasted towards the Lion Sage and the Tiger Sage respectively. Weak. Hearing this, the Lion Sage and the Tiger Sage, who had already displayed the beast soul possession, were stunned for a moment. Then, their hearts surged with rage. This was the first time they had seen someone who dared to say that they were weak. Destroy! The Lion Sage roared. His fist seemed to contain the power of a wild lion. He blasted out a punch, which even caused a crack to appear in the space. As for the crazy beast pavilion, it had long been smashed into pieces by the aftermath of the battle between the three saints. As a result, the aftermath of the battle instantly erupted. Many of the houses in the surrounding area were overturned. Fortunately, those who could live in the center of Chaos Demon City were not easy to deal with. As early as the battle in the Crazy Beast Pavilion had begun, these experts had all fled. At this time, the Lion Sage and the Tiger Sage clashed head-on with the primordial wilderness blood seal that Tianyang had blasted out. Boom! A terrifying sound rang out, and in an instant, extremely terrifying energy ripples spread out in all directions as if they were tangible ripples. Some of the beginner saints could not help but be aghast when they felt the energy ripples. By the time they reacted, Their internal organs had already been shaken by the energy ripples. As for the Sage-to-be and Wu Zun, they were even worse off. In order to prevent their internal organs from being damaged, they were directly sent flying by the energy ripples. However, even so, everyone was incomparably concerned about the battle in the Crazy Beast Pavilion. Unfortunately, the situation in the Crazy Beast Pavilion was not as they had expected. Puff, puff. The sound of two people vomiting blood rang out. Two figures were sent flying in completely opposite directions. The famous Lion Sage and Tiger Sage in Chaos Demon City were actually no match for this seemingly unruly person. Two mysterious seals that no one could recognize directly shattered the attacks of the Lion Sage and Tiger Sage, and sent them flying together. What a joke! Even if Tianyang was seriously injured, he was still in existence that could fight with an earthly great saint like Xianyuan Kongming in the past. Even if the power of his primordial spirit was severely injured, and only a tenth of his primordial spirit was left, his physical strength and true yuan were not something that two saints could shake. To deal with Tianyang now, a great saint, even a human-grade great sage might not be able to succeed. Only a great sage like the Scarlet Dragon Sage, who was close to the peak of the spiritual grade, would have the confidence to take down the Heavenly Sun. Unfortunately, there were great saints in Chaos Demon City, but that was only because of their character. So, are you going or not? Tianyang reached out and waved his hand. The Lion Tiger Saints, who had been sent flying, were summoned back without any ability to resist. Even so, the Lion Sage. You want me to hand over the information on the Class 8 Holy Flame? He did not know who Sun Xiaochuan was to the Lion Saint. Until now, the Lion Saint was not willing to compromise at all. As for the Tiger Saint, he snorted coldly and maintained the same unyielding attitude as his elder brother. You're not handing it over. No problem. Seeing this, Tianyang chuckled. How could a saint give in so easily? This was also within Tianyang's expectations. However, if they would rather die than give in, they could deal with Tianyang. If that was the case, then those two saints might be dreaming too much. Boom. In an instant, another immemorial blood seal appeared behind Tianyang. This time, Tianyang had even integrated a trace of the chaos origin into the immemorial blood seal. The previous immemorial blood seal might have been able to defeat the Lion Sage and Tiger Sage, but it might not have been able to make them kneel and seriously injure them. However, this primordial blood seal had fused with a trace of the primordial chaos origin source. Even if two great saints of the mortal grade came, they would have to kneel and beg for mercy. The Lion Sage and Tiger Sage's pupils shrank, and they sucked in a breath of cold air. Although Tianyang's various methods were powerful in their eyes, they were all mediocre skills. But now, this immemorial blood seal, it was absolutely capable of smashing his entire body into minced meat with a single strike. However, when they thought of their own personal disciple, Sun Xiaochuan, who had died in Tianyang's hands, they were furious. Lion Sage roared, "If you have the ability, then kill this old man. I'll grant you your wish." Tianyang smiled faintly. With a flick of his finger, the primordial blood seal shot out. Anyway, Tianyang had the method to search souls. At worst, he could use some torture to force Tiger Sage to tell him the truth. Tianyang really did not care about Lion Sage's life or death. Hold on. At this moment, a delicate voice rang out. Then, a dark green barrier appeared in front of Lion Sage. On the barrier, mysterious runes flowed. Finally, the entire barrier started to spin crazily. Boom. The immemorial blood seal violently bombarded the dark green barrier. Most of the impact was dissipated by the spinning barrier, and the immemorial blood seal directly shattered the barrier. However, it turned into light dust along with the dark green barrier. Tianyang raised his eyebrows. In Chaos Demon City, there was someone who could block his attack? In the next moment, a woman appeared in front of Lion Sage. She had long green hair that reached her waist. Her face was delicate, and her eyes were slender but did not stand out. She was wearing a tight-fitting black leather jacket, which perfectly outlined the curves of her voluptuous figure. Her every frown and smile seemed to carry a boundless charm, causing everyone's gazes to be completely fixed on her. However, some of the saints looked at this woman with a gaze that was not purely lust. In addition to the desire for that almost perfect body, there was also a deep fear. Demon Lady Ling Long? Lion Sage finally saw the person who had blocked the fatal blow for him. However, his expression changed rapidly. He was not happy that he had been saved. Instead, he stared at Demon Lady Ling Long and even took a few steps back. Tianyang's eyes narrowed slightly, and his face turned solemn. The aura on this woman was stronger than the Lion Sage and Tiger Sage of the Wild Beast Pavilion. She had already reached the human-grade Great Saint realm. What Tianyang was most afraid of was the faintly discernible dangerous aura that Demon Lady Ling Long exuded. Even Xianyuan Kongming did not give him such a feeling. "Who are you?" Tianyang asked. His eyes were filled with killing intent. Anyone who stood in his way of obtaining the Eighth Order Sacred Flame was someone he must kill. No matter how beautiful Demon Lady Ling Long was, it was the same. Demon Lady Ling Long was stunned when she heard this. Then, the corners of her mouth curved into a smile. "Is there anyone in Chaos Demon City who doesn't know me?" After that, Ling Long blinked her eyes. Countless experts behind her were shaken by her actions. Behind Tianyang, Li Qingchuan's mouth was wide open, and his face was filled with disbelief. Demon Lady Ling Long, since you don't know me, let me introduce myself." Demon Lady Ling Long smiled charmingly and said, "My name is Demon Lady Ling Long. It's not convenient for me to say my name. I belong to the Star Demon Trading Company, which will be auctioning the information of the Eighth Order Sacred Flame in a few days." Demon Lady Ling Long's seductive voice came out from her mouth. Instantly, the hearts of countless men behind Tianyang trembled. Her voice seemed to be able to arouse the primitive urges of men. It made them want to rush up and strip Demon Lady Ling Long naked and have a good time. Tianyang did not doubt that if Demon Lady Ling Long wanted the group of Wu Zun half-sages to court death, they would not hesitate. "So, do you want to die?" Chapter 1329. So, you want to die? Tianyang's expression was indifferent as he looked at Ling Long. There was not the slightest bit of emotion in his eyes. "Those who stop me will die." It was that simple. Hearing this, Ling Long was taken aback. She then covered her mouth with her right hand and laughed. This sage state really likes to joke with me." Whoosh! An extremely sharp sword light instantly pierced through Ling Long's hair, cutting off countless strands of her emerald green hair. At the same time, the sharp force left a red mark on Ling Long's temple. If it had come any closer, it would have bled. Ling Long's expression froze and her eyes widened. "I rarely joke," Tianyang said indifferently. Since Ling Long wanted to stop him from obtaining information about the Rank 8 Sacred Flame, he could only kill her. As for her appearance, what did it have to do with him? "So, you want to die?" Tianyang said. Although Ling Long's aura was very strange, Tianyang did not think that Ling Long was qualified to fight with him. She was a great sage. That was all. Below them, countless martial highnesses and half-saints were instantly stirred when they saw this. They did not care about fighting with the lion and tiger sages of the Wild Beast Pavilion. However, Tianyang dared to threaten Ling Long. He had even attacked Ling Long. "How dare you attack Ling Long? Get lost. Get out of Chaos Demon City." Chaos Demon City is the territory of the Star Demon Trading Company. A person who attacked Ling Long has no right to stay here. "Get out of Chaos Demon City. Get out of South Devil City." Everyone roared. If it was anyone else, they would have a complicated expression and would be in trouble. After all, with so many people pressuring him at the same time, it would be difficult for an ordinary cultivator to resist. However, was Tianyang an ordinary cultivator? In his previous life, the number of people who had died at the hands of Tianyang numbered in the millions. In this life, if the countless devil clan members in the Blood Sea were counted, the number of people Tianyang had killed was almost enough to fill a macro world. Thus, around Tianyang, strands of true essence condensed, forming millions of 3-foot-long true essence swords. As far as the eye could see, it was as if a sea of swords had formed around Tianyang. "Do you all want to die too?" Tianyang said coldly as the millions of quintessence swords flickered with a dazzling light. This sword of quintessential essence was not made of pure quintessential essence. It even contained the power of Tianyang's sage stage sword principle. If they were released at the same time, not to mention Wu Zun and half-saints, even low-level saints might not be able to survive the sword rain. At the level of the heavenly sun realm, even a beginner half-saint of the same realm could be killed in a second with a casual move. In this world, most of the saints had only become saints through quintessential essence. Those who had comprehended 2 saint paths were super geniuses, those who had comprehended 3 saint paths were peerless, and those who had comprehended 4 saint paths were one of a kind. Tianyang had grasped the chaos origin. As long as he had the heart to cultivate, it would not be a problem for him to control thousands of saint paths. He did not even need martial techniques to deal with quintessential essence saints. In an instant, the countless people below were like ducks that had their throats grabbed. They could not make a sound. No one doubted that Tianyang's overflowing killing intent would not spread to them. Tianyang could really kill thousands of Wu Zun and half-saints at the same time. This esteemed guest is a little fierce. I'm so scared. Seeing this, Linglong bewitching woman immediately started to chuckle. However, by the time she returned to her senses, the tip of the enormous sword formed by the fusion of several million true origin swords was already pointed at Linglong bewitching woman's forehead. "Get out of my way." Tianyang's voice was as cold as the river of the underworld. Linglong's expression changed completely. Behind her, the lion-tiger saints, who were being protected by Linglong, were so scared that they almost peed their pants. The killing intent and strength that Tianyang displayed now were on a completely different level from when he had fought with them before. The aura of a great saint of human grade was released from Linglong's body. "I haven't fought for 128 years. Am I going to fight with a mid-level saint today?" Bewitching lady, Linglong said. Her deep blue eyes gradually changed. Her pupils elongated, and the color became the same dark green as her previous defense. Black demonic runes appeared on both sides of her face, and the pressure that erupted in an instant caused even Tianyang's expression to change. She was indeed worthy of being called a demonic woman. Not only was the power of charm like a demon, but she also had the bloodline of the demon clan in her body. Moreover, she was extremely powerful. "However, I really don't want to fight with you," Linglong suddenly said. All of a sudden, Linglong opened her mouth and revealed a charming smile. "I didn't say that you wouldn't be able to get the news. However, the Star Demon Trading Company still has a bottom line. Since it's an auction item, then the news belongs to the Star Demon Trading Company. Moreover, you can't immediately hunt for the spiritual fire after getting the news. At least, there's a specific time for the spiritual fire to appear. If you want it, the Star Demon Trading Company's auction will be held in 3 days. How about you come again?" Linglong said. At the same time, the demonic runes on her face and her dark green vertical pupils gradually returned to their original state. The aura of a great saint was also retracted. However, her voice was still as sweet and seductive as before. Hearing this, Tianyang's cold expression didn't change at all. However, there was a hint of fear in his eyes. As expected of the southern Devil Sea, even a city ruled by a great saint had hidden dragons and crouching tigers. Although Linglong was only a great saint on the surface, if she went all out, even Tianyang might not be able to win. It would be great if the power of the primordial spirit was fully recovered. Unfortunately, The immortal divine body left behind by Tian Hao didn't have a part related to the soul. Therefore, facing the threat of an unfathomable existence like Linglong, Tianyang could only temporarily stop. Then, I'll make the reservation, Tianyang said indifferently. The only reason he could convince her was because the spiritual fire needed a specific time to appear. If the Eighth Order sacred fire didn't appear, then it would be the same whether he got the news sooner or later. Tianyang didn't want to fall out with a powerful demonic woman who had a huge force behind her and was also extremely powerful for something worthless. Of course, as long as you have enough Earth Reiki. Linglong smiled. At this time, Tianyang didn't want to be entangled with Linglong anymore. He turned around and planned to leave. With Linglong around, he wouldn't be able to get the news today. However, this also reminded Tianyang that even if he could defeat an Earth Great Saint, he might not be able to do as he pleased in the Southern Devil Sea. Even if there wasn't a half-saint emperor like old ancestor Xianyuan, a heaven great saint could defeat him at his peak. Now, it would be risky for Tianyang to fight against a spiritual great saint. It seems like I need to buy some treasures to recover the primordial spirit at the auction. Tianyang muttered to himself. At this time, Linglong spoke. May I know your name? Chapter 1330. Chaos Demon City. After the turmoil during the day, Chaos Demon City still couldn't calm down at night. For a long time, the recognized overlords of Chaos Demon City were the Lion and Tiger Saints of the Mad Beast Pavilion, followed by the other forces. After all, a sage was in existence that stood at the top of the pyramid of the mysterious sky great world. However, today's battle had overturned the worldview of countless people in Chaos Demon City. The former overlords, the Lion and Tiger Saints, were being beaten up by a foreign intermediate sage, and the branch master of the Star Demon Trading Company, who had always kept a low profile, was actually a terrifying almighty of the great sage realm. Everyone had always known that Linglong was strong, but they never expected her to be this strong. A great sage existence could dominate the entire Chaos Demon City, unlike the Mad Beast Pavilion, who was only an overlord in name. Of course, what shocked everyone the most was that Su Tianshao had actually directly attacked a peerless beauty like Linglong twice in a row. He showed his killing intent without concealing it. This shocked everyone. If it weren't for Tianyang's strength, there would probably be people looking for trouble with Tianyang now. So, this is the reason why you've been talking nonsense for half an hour? In the heavenly underworld demon sect's encampment, Li Qingchuan said various versions of the above with an excited face. Young Master Su, you may not know it yourself, but you've defeated the Mad Beast Pavilion, the northern overlord of the southern devil region. You've completely destroyed their dignity. Moreover, you've suppressed a great sage existence like Linglong. If this news gets out, young Master Su, you'll be promoted to the top existence of the southern devil region. Li Qingchuan refuted. From his flushed face, it could be seen how emotional Li Qingchuan was right now. Tianyang supported his head with one hand and looked at Li Qingchuan with a tilted face. He and Li Qingchuan had only known each other for less than a day, so he couldn't make Li Qingchuan feel proud. Don't talk so much nonsense. Introduce the Star Demon Trading Company to me. Tianyang mercilessly interrupted Li Qingchuan's bragging and said directly. The northern overlord of the southern devil region? 2 sages? Tianyang wanted to laugh at his own words. In the eastern divine prefecture, Banten Simun had a transcendent status because it was the only alchemy saint sect. How could the patriarch of Wandan Holy Sect, who was only a high-level saint, be treated with respect by so many forces? The spiritual state had 4 great saints, and it was only ranked 5th. The East Sky Godly Prefecture had at least 6 or 7 great saints, and the Southern Demon Ghost Realm, which was always ranked 3rd and 2nd, had at least 10 great saints. At most, the forces of the Southern Devil Clan knew how to make a fortune in silence. All right. Hearing this, Li Qingchuan immediately lost interest in introducing the Star Demon Trading Company. The Star Demon Trading Company is the largest trading company in the entire southern Demon Ghost region. There are branches in all the major cities of the Southern Devil Kingdom. The leaders of the branches are at least mid-level saints. At the same time, the Star Demon Trading Company also controls more than 55% of the transactions in the Southern Devil Ghost region and more than 80% of the transactions in the Sage Realm and above. The Star Demon Trading Company itself is not a martial faction. However, the number of strong practitioners they possess is innumerable. Bewitching Girl Linglong shouldn't be the strongest expert in the Star Demon Trading Company. Moreover, according to some rumors, the Star Demon Trading Company seems to have the support of an unfathomably powerful force, Li Qingchuan said. Tianyang nodded slightly when he heard this. It was similar to what he had guessed. When Bewitching Girl Linglong revealed her second form, Tianyang knew that the Star Demon Trading Company was not simple. However, as long as they didn't provoke him, Tianyang couldn't be bothered. In that case, you can scram wherever you want. Tianyang waved his hand and returned to his room. He released Ling Yuhan from the Vientiane Sky ruins and ran his finger across the layer of solid ice that could freeze everything. She maintained the poignant smile she had when she used the underworld seals the 9 heavens. Tianyang tried his best not to look at her face. However, when he felt the warmth of her frozen finger, he felt as if a knife was being twisted in his heart. In his eyes, the flames of vengeance were also burning. Yuhan, just you wait. It won't take long for you to recover. The Xianyuan family will also be flattened. Tianyang then placed Ling Yuhan back in the Vientiane Sky ruins. He sat down cross-legged and used the most desperate method to cultivate. However, Tianyang didn't notice it. A pair of eyes dimmed in the gap of the door. 3 days later. During these 3 days, Tianyang didn't appear in Chaos Demon City again. However, the news of an unknown young man destroying the Crazy Beast Pavilion spread like wildfire. No one knew how they found out about Tianyang's location. After a night, the Sky Underworld Demon Sect's encampment was completely surrounded. Of course, Tianyang wouldn't meet them. He asked Li Qingchuan to help him deal with them. Unknowingly, the Sky Underworld Demon Sect benefited a lot. However, this wasn't something that Tianyang cared about. Meanwhile, Tianyang had brought Yun Xianyuan and Li Qingchuan to the Star Demon Trading Company. Compared to other auction houses, the Star Demon Trading Company didn't have any special features. However, the powerful aura that was faintly emitted from it set the Star Demon Trading Company apart from other trading companies. Tianyang spent a lot of effort to walk out of the Sky Underworld Demon Sect's encampment. After all, there were too many people who wanted to see a great sage. The Heavenly Underworld Demon Sect was almost completely surrounded. However, all of this changed when Yun Xianyuan froze a few people into ice sculptures. Tianyang and the other two were able to walk out of their encampment. If you had used a little more force, those Wu Zun would have been completely turned into ice sculptures. Tianyang transmitted his voice to Yun Xianyuan. If it wasn't necessary, Tianyang didn't want to kill innocent people. Hearing this, Yun Xianyuan just shook his head slightly. I'm still confident in my control of the mysterious beauty Yin body. At some point in time, the relationship between Xianyuan Yun and Tianyang had become lukewarm, as compared to the enslavement they had for each other. Tianyang didn't care, but Yun Xianyuan cared a lot. If Yun Xianyuan asked to remove the demon slave mark at this moment, Tianyang most likely wouldn't refuse. However, for some reason, Yun Xianyuan didn't say anything. Haha, our young master Su Tianxiao is finally here. I've been thinking about you for the past few days. At the entrance of the Star Demon Trading Company, a seductive woman in dark purple tights suddenly appeared. She put on her signature charming smile and said. Tianyang didn't bother to pay attention to Linglong, who seemed to only know how to wear tights. He directly said, I hope there aren't so many ignorant people in this Chaos Demon City. Then, he threw out a dark purple card. Linglong personally came to the Sky Underworld Demon Sect's encampment and handed it to Tianyang yesterday. In an auction room. It originally belonged to the Mad Beast Pavilion. That's not something our Star Demon Trading Company can interfere with. This auction has always been won by the highest bidder. Linglong smiled. Tianyang didn't have any intention to look at this seductive woman and walked straight into the auction room. As for Linglong, she also stopped smiling after Tianyang left. An inexplicable light flashed in her eyes. Her lips slightly opened, and two mosquito-like words came out. Su Tianxiao Huh. Chapter 1331. Star Demon Trading Company, Auction House. In front of the auction stage, there were thousands of seats. The two old men clenched their teeth tightly and looked at a box above. Damn that Su Tianxiao! Lion Saint roared, and that damn Star Demon Trading Company! They actually gave our box to that little bastard Su Tianxiao without our consent. These two people were naturally the former overlords of Chaos Demon City, the Lion and Tiger Saints. However, the Lion and Tiger Saints were furious at this moment. With their former status, when the Star Demon Trading Company held an auction, they were allowed to sit in the most honorable box and enjoy the best maid service. But now, because of Tianyang's appearance, they had been kicked out of the private room. They even had to look for members of their own forces to find 2 seats. It was like heaven and earth compared to the previous treatment. The Star Demon Trading Company is a merchant to begin with. It's normal for them to do such a thing in pursuit of profit. However, that Su Tianxiao is too much. Tiger Saint calmed down a little, but he was still furious. At this moment, as everyone entered the venue, an unknown gaze was cast on the Lion and Tiger Saints. Not to mention that they did not have a box, even the Lion and Tiger Saints' current seats were far from the best. Sensing those gazes, Lion Saint's face became even gloomier. It was as if the surrounding space was about to shatter. However, the Star Demon Trading Company was a large force that was spread throughout the southern Devil Ghost region. They could not tolerate Lion Saint's atrocious behavior. At this moment, Tianyang frowned and drove away all the maids in the box. As a great saint, don't tell me you don't know whether a person needs this thing or not. Tianyang's face was ugly as he stared at Linglong in front of him. Seeing this, Linglong immediately muttered, "What an unromantic guy. You still call him young Master Su. A great young master doesn't even want a maid? What does it have to do with you?" Tianyang said indifferently, "So, what are you doing here instead of presiding over the auction?" Tianyang was also rather wary of Linglong. After all, a human-grade great saint was enough for Tianyang to fight. Moreover, Linglong's strength seemed to be more than that. Tianyang could sense a dangerous aura just by standing near exquisite Demonis. Naturally, he didn't like Linglong, who was the source of danger. "Young Master Su, you're treating me so roughly. I'm so sad." Bewitching Lady Linglong smiled and handed over a small booklet. "This is the list of items to be auctioned. Only those in the private rooms will be able to enjoy such treatment. This time, I'm the one who delayed so I could give it to young Master Su personally." With just a few words and a smile, Li Qingchuan, who was standing beside her, stared at her with his eyes wide open. As for Yun Xianyuan, he had been looking at Linglong coldly since the beginning. It was as if the coldness in the depths of his eyes was not an act. "Oh." In response, Tianyang just replied indifferently and didn't say anything else. Seeing this, Linglong immediately sighed and walked out. In the next second, Linglong appeared in the auction hall. "Everyone in Chaos Demon City, did you miss me?" Linglong stood in the middle of the auction stage and smiled. Instantly, countless people seemed to have been awakened and began to make a big fuss. It was as if they weren't here to participate in the auction, but to see Linglong. What a shameless woman! Seeing this, Yun Xianyuan frowned and said. Tianyang didn't have any opinion on this. At this time, the auction had already begun. Then, let's cut to the chase. Next, let's get to the main topic of this Star Demon auction. The first item to be auctioned is the pinnacle sacred weapon left behind by the West River Sword Saint 300 years ago, the West River Sword. The West River Sword Saint was a powerful sword saint in the western part of the southern demon ghost region, who was said to be the most likely to break through to the Great Saint realm. Although he has fallen, this West River Sword still contains a trace of the might of a great saint. Even if a great saint like me were to use it, it wouldn't be degrading at all. Linglong introduced. There was nothing special about her lines. It was just that her charming voice made these ordinary lines sound like she was introducing a rare treasure. The emotions of the people below were completely stirred up. Their eyes were fixed on the longsword in Linglong's hand. Even if they ignored Linglong's seductive introduction, the value of the West River sword was extraordinary. The starting price is 200 million Reiki, or 2 or more lower sacred weapons, or an equivalent pill. However, when they heard this, it was as if a bucket of cold water had been poured over them. 200 million Reiki was close to the collection of an ordinary sect. Not to mention, this was only the starting price. 300 million. At this time, someone immediately called out. For a saint who had been fighting all year round, the value of Reiki was not that high. 500 million. He directly raised the starting price by 1. Speaking of which, Master, how many Reiki do you have now? Yun Xianyuan turned his head from the auction house and looked at Tianyang, puzzled. He seemed to have never seen Tianyang take out Reiki before. Hearing this, Tianyang was stunned. He then rubbed his temples. I'm not too sure, but just the blood, that great saint space bag has 80 billion Reiki. It shouldn't be difficult to buy a piece of information. Hearing this, Yun Xianyuan breathed a sigh of relief. Li Qingchuan, on the other hand, was completely stunned. Great saint? 80 billion Reiki? Could young Master Su have killed a great saint? However, when he saw Tianyang's eyes turn murderous when he mentioned the blood of the great saint, Li Qingchuan pondered for a moment and kept his mouth shut. In any case, he was just here to join in the fun. In the end, the pinnacle saint artifact, Shichuan sword, was bought by a sword Dao saint who was not much weaker than the crazed beast pavilion. He spent 9.8 billion Reiki. To be precise, it was 9.876547210 billion Reiki. Because the crazed beast pavilion could only afford 9.8 billion Reiki. The rest was used by the sword Dao saint to discuss the lion and tiger saints. Old Monster Su. The lion saint's face was extremely gloomy as he stared at the grinning saint in box number 2. Why did you call this seat? The sword Dao saint called Old Monster Su chuckled, infuriating the lion saint. Sword Saint Su is actually stronger than the lion saint and tiger saint in terms of individual strength. However, the lion and tiger saints were able to defeat him when they worked together. Therefore, Sword Saint Su has always been unconvinced and finds an opportunity to discuss the crazed beast pavilion. Li Qingchuan muttered. Hearing this, Tianyang shrugged his shoulders. He did not care about the grudges of the crazed beast pavilion. I didn't expect the first auction item to be sold for nearly 10 billion Reiki. This is really surprising. Seeing this, Linglong chuckled. However, even if the following treasures are inferior to the West River sword, they aren't that much inferior. In the next moment, Linglong waved her hand and a fist-sized golden fruit appeared in midair. Vaguely, one could see that the fruit had the outline of a baby. Seeing this, Yun Xianyuan and Li Qingchuan did not react. However, Tianyang's pupils shrank.